Hi, team,
Hi.
stream team, dream stream team. That's us, by the way. Welcome back to Unexpected Arrivals.
That's fine.
I know we're a little bit late, but we didn't want our arrival to be expected, so here we are. Everyone's here now. A round of applause for everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Great. Killing it. We have no announcements today because
I was negligent.
there's nothing to talk about. There's definitely no new Kickstarters coming out that I'm writing for, or plot developments likely this session.
Keep
So happy Day of the Presidents to everyone.
Yes.
For real. Does it have to be all the presidents, or can we pick specific ones to be happy about?
You can pick whichever one you want.
Cool. None of them.
That's not true.
No, you have to be.
It's not multiple
Which
choice.
was the president who died in a bathtub? I think we should only celebrate him.
Elvis?
Well,
Yes.
okay.
President Elvis, one of the greats.
I'm sorry, this is what I've done. So, big shout out to Roll20 for hosting this every week. Thank you for your sponsorship. Thank you, Juggling Geese, for the host.
That's a weird.
Oh, who's that?
It was William Howard Taft.
Oh. All right, gruesome, macabre president facts. Also, we learned slightly before going live today that vampires have OCD or something like that.
That's true.
That if you put toothpicks near a vampire, they have to count them all.
You would just like throw it on the ground in front of them, and they would be like, "Oh, I have to count them," and then
Have you been watching Sesame Street?
run away.
One toothpick.
If you look I have cited my work.
It's peer-reviewed research now. We have reviewed it. So, if you didn't know, now you know. Tell your friends. Maybe you'll have less friends afterwards. But it worked for us. We're all still friends, I think. Music tonight from Kevin MacLeod and Adrian Von Ziegler. Thanks for the free music. It really makes us go spooky, spooky. And ooh, tense, or pew, 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 super fighting on a bridge. Hope no one's dying. We'll get that into a second. Okay, recap time.
All right, let's move it along.
Recap time! Oh, we need music for recap. Speaking of which, good segue, Casey.
You guys bought a segue?
I'm going to use the track called Unnatural Situation, because I think that's probably applicable to just about everything we do. Cool. So, last time on Unexpected Arrivals, we rushed off to try to save Affy, who had intercepted those who had been attempting to steal an ancient artifact from the Bremeraldi archives. The Staff of the Elders, a very powerful artifact that you all know and love by now, so I won't explain its sordid history. But there are multiple copies now around. Only one of them is the real one. The party fought on a bridge leaving Vesular, trying to take the thieves by surprise and prevent them from absconding with the Staff of the Elders, and they were successful. But at what cost? Tebrin was thrown off of the bridge and died. Literally straight up fucking died. But because D&D makes it mechanically impossible to kill people unless you just disintegrate them, Tebrin was brought back to life.
Awfully particular.
Yeah.
Fine.
A little dust in the wounds. Too soon. So, though they did not manage to dispense with all of folks they fought on the bridge, as one of them, sensing the tide turning of the battle, fled into the river below and began to swim off. But valiantly, Wolsey has given chase and followed them downriver quite a ways, and now left the river and heading back into the city. The rest of the party recovering from their harrowing... it's not really near-death experience. It's just death
It's
experience.
just death experience. Death and then non-death.
From their death experience, and holding the case to what they believe to be is the staff of the elders in their hand. Roswell is now invisible, as Karut and the rest of the Empire now shows its presence there, arriving at the situation a few minutes later. Affy, all safe, not drowned either. So all in all, you just killed a bunch of people you didn't know. But nobody you know is dead, which is
At least
good.
we don't have a home here, so we're like hobos.
Yeah, that's an odd way to put it. So, that being said, we will dive into tonight's episode, starting off first with Wolsey, as you did manage with a sneaky perception roll and a not so sneaky stealth roll on their behalf to track going through the town itself, heading back up into the city proper from the riverbed. I assume you would like to continue to follow this person. They are moving quickly, but not clandestinely from you.
Oh, that's me. All right. Yeah, I would like to follow the people, or person specifically that I was tracking. And if they run with some great haste, I feel that I can also do the same. I'm going to do my best to make them think that they may have lost me, but never at the risk of losing them themselves.
All right.
Which is a balance I may mess up terribly, but that's what I'm going for.
I will say that if you want to move at a haste to keep up with them, as they are going sort of at a clip that detriments stealth, stealth roll will be at disadvantage here, if you would like to make a stealth roll.
I suppose I shall give it a shot. And you said advantage. Excellent.
Yes.
With the word
Disadvantage.
disadvantage. My two rolls were a natural 20, and then also the number 2. So the lower roll is 12.
All right. So as you make your way sort of through the streets, you do kind of see that the streets are now filling up with kind of the morning crowd. It is you came out fairly early in the morning, and now after the events on the bridge have come into kind of mid-morning, people getting up, going about their business, in restaurants, eating breakfast. And so you have to make your way through the crowd. And you do see at one point the individual kind of like lets slip their dark black cloak off, kind of sheds it, casts it down onto the ground, sort of just as they pass the road, heading off. And you do see at this point, well, what do you see? Let's make a perception roll to see if you can glean any extra details as they shed their layer of wet cloakingness.
Out of the 3 levels of advantage, am I at normal?
At
No advantage or disadvantage or no advantage?
you can just straight roll then.
Well, with a plus 10, I've managed a 14. I'll let you do the math, but the roll wasn't necessarily the best one.
All right, so off to a slightly slow start, but nonetheless, 14 is good enough. You do catch that it does appear that this person is either elf or half elf. You do kind of catch pointed tips to the ears there, and the person you're following is female, though kind of on the taller end of the spectrum, definitely female now that you see, but fairly short hair. As they weave through, heading up a series of stairs, the parts near the waterfront of Vesular are very kind of like terraced, and so there'll be kind of like one like row of buildings and then up another sort of level. Then there'll be kind of another road and up as they go in, because the delta on which the actual city is built is kind of mountainous in part, so they kind of, at different places they kind of cut up and in. So you're slowly making your way up higher along sloping up roads, and you follow up the stairs there, and you see the figure kind of turn over their shoulders, looking at you, and then they head into a very crowded, kind of bustling open-air restaurant. There's lots of polished wooden tables just sort of out on this big sort of patio terrace, bright multicolored painted chairs in and around them, and sort of above, enclosing the area, there's this whitewashed lattice work that goes over, has kind of vines coiling up around it, and then various pieces of colored cloth, very very ornamental, very vibrant in color. There's bowls of fresh fruit on the table, and it seems like most of the seats are filled with people who are eating breakfast there. And she heads in, goes about 2/3 of the way into this open air thing, and finds kind of an empty table, and sits down at one of the seats there, and reaches into the bowl and pulls out an apple, and sort of takes a second and catches her breath, and then, looking kind of out past as you come to the top of the stairs, takes a big bite out of the apple.
My common sense is tingling. I would like to roll an investigation to see if there's possibly all kinds of people paying attention to me that is like, hey, you've fallen into our trap. Or...
All right, fair enough. Yeah. Let's see what we can see now that we've got all the bad rolls out of our system.
You think my investigation is at -2.
So
-1, because I can't read. I have rolled, with that -1, I've rolled a result of a 0, and would like to confidently move into the... Oh, well, no, these are just normal people.
Yes, it does seem that there's... it's just sort of like the normal daily crowd as you head in, and she sort of looks you over for a second, takes another bite.
Take a seat.
Takes a bite of the apple and just kind of puts it down and tilts her head at you a little bit as you sit down in front of her.
May I? As I don't really ask or wait for a response.
By all means. It's good to not be running. You seem awfully interested in me. Is there a particular reason for this interest?
Nothing so as untoward as to publicly say I have a lot of interest in you. However, that shared experience we've just come from had quite a bit of an impact on people and other people. Some people more than others. And my concern is what involvement from those on your side of the, let's call it, bridge. What involvement would they have regarding further possible conflicts of that same nature? It's very disturbing what has happened, and I'd like to make sure that they've been put to bed.
Well, I suppose that in our line of work, these situations can't always be avoided, and it seems like whomever you work for got what they wanted out of the bargain, and I can assure you that for me, a job is a job. This one didn't go particularly well, but you can't win them all. And as she sort of smiles over at you, you take a second to now finally observe a little bit more, and you notice that kind of short, choppy brown hair on very pronounced nose, and you can see that her eyes kind of sparkle and ever so slowly are shifting their color between this kind of sparkling, glimmering red, and then they go very slowly dissolving to gold, and then very slowly back to black. It's just this cycle that happens every like 4 or 5 seconds as she looks over. So, yeah, we seem to be in about the same line of work then.
It does sound something similar, and I have certainly been on both ends of a bad job, so I understand. My question, of course, is, and you're going to have to say it with enough conviction to make me believe it.
I'm terribly sorry.
Is the job over?
Well, this particular part of the job is over.
Is your employer going to be... Is the employment done?
Well, my employer is likely not going to be overly ecstatic that the job didn't go entirely as described, but we take payment in advance, so I don't think there'll be that much love loss of it. And as for yourself, you seem fairly capable, and I would be remiss if I didn't compliment you on your efforts. You're quite the swimmer. You must have been a sailor or something in a previous life, and you weren't chasing down good-natured folk across the city.
Seems like just a lifetime ago I was just chasing good-natured folk across the ocean, but yes. Point is, I don't wish to cause a scene here, and you seem pretty reasonable.
I am
And
very reasonable, yes.
Also, don't have the same history as all of the others seem to have intertwined amongst themselves. So my interests are still light enough to maybe treat this a little more civilly and a little less emotionally outraged. So,
I'm glad to hear it. Emotions don't do us any justice, especially being as talented as we are in our respective crafts.
it's not about being emotionless, it's about being disciplined. And the point is, do you accept counteroffers?
I am always willing to hear other offers, though depending on the scope of an offer, perhaps that's better suited for my boss to hear. I mean, we are a bit short-handed now from recent events, as, your crew put a bit of a dent in ours, no one that can't be replaced, and I mean, perhaps with somebody quite more capable. We have a ship a bit further down the river that is now in need of a crew. I mean,
that.
no hard feelings about before. It's all just business, and perhaps we can, as you say, make a business arrangement. It's not much of a ship. Look, seems like it has a hard past life. She's called the Storm Runner.
That's a terrible name. Never run towards storms.
Well, perhaps run from them. I don't really know.
Sails yellow? That makes no sense.
I didn't name it. I'm not even sure how we acquired it, but we're provisioned and leaving in a couple of days. If you're looking for work, we can pay gold, or if you're into something a bit more exotic contraband is perhaps my boss's favorite currency.
So, if you are at all interested in the discussion of a possible arrangement, I'll have you know that those I run with, although they all stayed behind, but for those I normally run with, they have the backing of the government itself. The coffers likely run deeper than I can imagine. My own personal ones. I look at my bag; it has like 9 gold pieces in it. And I'm like, it's not the same. But I will pass back information if you're willing to meet up at one point.
We're not interested in dealing with the Empire, if that's what you mean. We try to stay quite to the opposite side of that.
Well, much like yourselves, it's an employer, you understand. And there are parts of the Empire that would probably also not vouch for us. But whatever little shard of it that they're working for, that I guess I'm working for, is simply that.
Well, if you're hoping to make a deal with my boss, I suggest you keep any word of your relationship, as small as it may be, with the Empire to yourselves, if you want to have any hope of success. She's a very reasonable person, but I can't imagine, given her history, that she's going to want anything to do with the Empire.
That's fair enough. If you think she'd... So are you saying that she wouldn't be open for a discussion?
She's always open for a discussion, but if you want your discussion to bear fruit, I suggest you keep the details of the Empire to yourselves.
If I've learned anything about my new comrades, it's that they are courteous, thoughtful, and go into conversations and negotiations with a bit of dignity. So I think it'll be fine.
Great.
Should I try to find that ship as a location?
Yes, but don't dilly-dally. We will leave in a few days. Once we crew up, which shouldn't be too hard, we have probably about half a dozen or so berths left on board. Well, maybe a few more, given our recent business interactions. She takes another sort of bite of the apple. Yes, the Stormrunner. It's right down on the river, probably about another 4 or 5 blocks down that way. You can ask around. She's been there for quite some time.
Fantastic. What fake name were you going to give me so I can say that when I get there?
For the ship?
No, for whom we're looking for.
Oh.
Yourself or this?
My name is Adali. You're seeking Offix.
I'm going to write that down when I have a pen and I'm not soaking wet.
She sort of holds up her hand, and the waitress comes over, and she goes like this, and then comes back with a little torn piece of parchment and a quill. She just sort of scratches it down and hands it to you. Take a piece of fruit while you're at it. It's quite good. You look like you could use for some nourishment. I have an arrangement with this establishment, so you can put it on my tab.
Well, insight. If I believe her, I'm taking that fruit.
All right, go ahead and make an insight check.
Dun, dun, dun. With a +5, I've managed a 10. Once again, these basic arithmetic results are quite where I want them to be, but that is what I've done. I have no idea if that's true or not.
Well,
safer than sorry. And I'll stand up and, shake a little bit of. I'm assuming this little run through the city has driven me off a great deal as well.
Yeah, I mean, you're not like buckets of water coming off of you or anything.
Right, but I squished my way.
Yeah, you do notice as you both kind of stand up that she is pristinely dry.
Convenient. That's all I say. Like I mutter that. Convenient.
All right, heading back off. The rest of you on the embankment next to the bridge. Affy has seemingly finished her debrief with Karut as he walks over to you. Roswell, currently invisible, holding the case.
Do I get the sense that he can see me?
How would you like to try to determine that?
Well, is he you just said he's walking over to me.
Well, to the group of you. I assume you're
Okay.
standing near the group.
You know what though? That I think that question still stands. Like, does he sense that I'm there? Like maybe an insight into.
You can roll insight if you would like.
Okay. I would like.
See if we can break a roll of a 5 on the die.
I rolled a natural 20, giving me a roll of 30.
I'd also done that when it wasn't applicable.
You
All
see
right,
into Karut's very soul.
Karut doesn't seem any different than he normally does in demeanor. It's hard to tell what he can see and what he can't see, but he's not moving in any surreptitious way or any way that might incur that he's suspicious. As he walks up to the group, kind of looks over. Where's Roswell and that other chap that was with you? Did they make it through whatever this ordeal seemed to be?
I'm the chap.
Wait, yeah, where is he? Where is Walsley? Where'd he go? Did he went?
Jumped in the water.
I was, tending to Tebrin who died.
Tebrin is still like sitting on the ground with his back up against a wall and is kind of resting his forehead on one of his like kind of drawn up knees.
He looks.
I need one.
And looks like he has recently died and been brought back to life.
I need one clarifying question. Tebrin, did you tell us what Karut told you about letting the Nagpa
Yes.
exist? Okay.
That would have happened the night before.
Okay. I thought so, but I just wanted to make sure.
Yes.
And when Karut came over, did any other of the people from Bremeraldi or whatnot come over, or did he just come over right now by himself?
There are other guards and stuff kind of like milling about, but there's not like, he doesn't have an entourage with him or anything that's talking to you.
Okay.
Affy's there or away?
Affy is probably within earshot, but not like right at his side.
Okay. So I am going to whisper to him. Karut, we need to talk.
Jesus. Well, I can assume that we are talking here. Is this a private matter? Perhaps we return to my office?
I would prefer it to be, yes. This will look down. I can't point. You can't see me pointing, but look down at this body.
What am I looking at?
The Nagpa.
It's disgusting, yes.
This is who killed Nomarius.
I see. It must have been desperate if it was out in broad daylight doing things.
Yeah, it's too bad he was here at all.
Well,
that-
seems you have dispensed with the problem.
Maybe somebody could have dispensed with it earlier. Who knows? Yeah, it seems that he's been in your halls.
The Nagpa itself has been inside the school?
Yes.
what leads you to believe that to be true?
Something we found on him. Listen, I don't feel really great talking about this out here.
Well, perhaps we can retire back to the school. I need to check in on our guest anyway. Make sure he's getting settled this morning.
Your guest, how is that more important than what's happening right now?
Well, he plays an integral role into sorting out what's going on the other side. I don't know how to say this, Roswell, because I mean this in utmost deference to you and your party, but wrangling all of you is not my only job for the Empire.
Oh, I'm so sorry to be such a burden on you.
I very much appreciate that you were able to come to Affy's aid, as I fear we would have not arrived quite soon enough. So, as always, I am in your debt.
Did she call out to you?
She did.
And nobody got here fast enough?
We arrived about a minute after you did.
God, it feels like hours.
His daughter was like, things crept by in 6-second increments.
That is one thing about D&D combat that's always so funny, is that like, oh my god, this was hours, and you're like, oh no, it was but a minute.
Yeah. No, they were there like maybe a minute or two after you arrived. So they came running as quickly as they could.
Time for me to fucking die.
It was still just pretty funny. Anyway, Roswell does not find it amusing. She seems to have trusted us.
Is that a question?
Yeah, it is kind of a question. And like, she called that to us too. Seems like she trusts us too.
Well, she certainly has been through a lot with all of you. I don't see why she wouldn't trust you.
Hostage.
What's a hostage between friends?
We've come a long way.
It's been 6 seconds.
Well, why
I
don't
can
you...
move 30 feet in 6 seconds.
Look, we're all on the same team. Let's not be finger pointy, okay? Chicken Wizard is dead. Everybody's alive.
Oh! Do we want to talk to him, though?
Thought we were talking.
The Chicken Wizard, or who we...
Well, we could find out who he's working for exactly.
I mean, by all means, if you can get more information from him, that would be invaluable to what we're trying to accomplish.
I would like to astrally project into this conversation so I can say some things.
No, I think we could do that. I just am gonna need some time to be able to do that and prepare that.
Is it possible if we, like, don't you have to be by the remains?
Could we just keep this corpse?
I can arrange to have the corpse brought back to the Bremeraldi school if you'd like.
Oh my! How much of the corpse do you need to perform it? Like if
Just
one
the
of these
head.
sections-
I just need the head. I need something that can talk. Can I just take his head?
Yeah, remember the bird was, like, immolated, so yes. You have a skull of this strange humanoid vulture-like creature that has little chunks of charred flesh still stuck to it, and
Wait, it's a Skeksis? That's awesome.
pretty much. It smells awful.
Okay. Then when should we meet up with you?
Well, if it's of pressing issue, I'm headed back there now.
Like I said, I can't talk to this guy today.
I can,
Okay.
but I just say don't have to. Just putting that out there.
Does it matter who does it? Let's just talk to the chicken wizard.
I don't know
Okay.
what your plans are.
Well, why don't we talk about what our plans are together and come up
Because
with a
Karuk
plan?
can't be bothered to
Can we
tangle us up, wrangle
Tebrin's
us
head
up.
is still down.
blah,
Can we
blah.
please just
Karut,
Karut
Karut,
is on our
do what you need
side?
to do. Please take the chicken wizard. We will be there as soon as we are able, and we will have a plan.
Oh,
This is
Rosalie.
the cutscene where I'm like, and I'm sure that they're handling it with, like, right now. That's the time frame. This is a split screen right now.
Well, fine then. I'll return and seek me out at the school when you have all this sorted out.
Okay.
And he sort of about faces.
Will we get to? Oh, you said that you had a guest that was going to be, that has an insight into what's happening in Aradore. Are we going to have a chance to talk to them?
Well, he is at the school, yes. It's been a bit hectic since he arrived yesterday, but if you'd like to chat, then of course it can be
Who is this
arranged.
person?
Some sort of scholarly fellow from Nosrael, I believe. He spent
Does he have a name?
a fair bit of time in Aradore, yes. Sir Edmund Kingsley is the name.
Sorry,
Cool.
pardon.
Oh,
Cool. Cool.
what a great guy.
God, this is not what I needed today.
An acquaintance of yours?
Ugh.
Me and Kingsley were sort of like, I don't want to say.
That's probably enough.
Yeah,
I
like
don't-
when I was
Best-
trapped in a prison
Best friends,
by
maybe?
by Torin, Kingsley had like an experiment slot that he put inside a little girl that was there, and it exploded, and then it went inside me. He experiments with a lot of really weird things. He was fascinated by everything, so
He was
That's
also
cool.
working with my mother. God.
You people are dizzying in your insights to others. At any rate, normally not the type of person that we would deal with, but the Emperor thought it best to bring in people who were most knowledgeable on the subject. And unfortunately, our subject matter here is something a bit more macabre than how we usually deal. So we're accepting the eccentricities of the situation.
okay. That makes sense. I just his curiosity is often can be the demise of others. So that's just my nugget of wisdom, I guess, for right now.
I will take that under advisement.
Okay. We got a vulture to talk to.
So I'm leaving the vulture wizard here.
No.
Oh, or did you want to take him back? What were we doing with it? I guess it's kind of gross to talk to him out here.
In the street, yeah.
I
Yeah.
can
What part
make
of
sure
it?
the area
How
is
is
secure
it less
if you'd like.
gross to move corpses around?
I mean, it's part of my job all the time, Tebrin. That's what I do. It's not that gross. It's a body. Whatever.
Yes, on the battlefield, many people fall, and you have to move their corpse. You can't just leave them where they lie.
Okay, that's enough corpse talk.
You guys remember the jelly roll she made out of the corpse with the carpet? Back in the dimension? I'm just saying. The jelly roll. That's what happens. Anyway.
Body's a body. Feelings are grosser. Anyway, carry on.
I'd like that on a mug.
All right. So, Karut turns again and begins to head off. Seeing that he's done talking, Affy runs over and sort of wraps her arms around you, Akira. She's not super tall, so she kind of gives you a big hug, and then runs over to Kendra and gives her a big hug, and then runs over emphatically to Tebrin, gives him a big hug, and then kind of feels around a little bit, knowing Roswell's somewhere, but doesn't
Yeah.
quite connect.
I reach out, just okay. I hug her like just stepping over the box of the staff to find her.
I really appreciate all of you coming so quickly. It was, well, life-saving. So thanks, and I've got to go, but see you around.
Hey, are you gonna be with Karut? Because I have a question.
Yes, I will likely be near Karut at some point today.
Okay, bye.
No, Effie, just you can.
Don't worry about it. And like, just Tebrin kind of goes to usher her away, and as he does, just like or just like one hug that's just like it's just like he just hugs her like really hard for a second, and then fades back into kind of towards the back of the group.
Yeah, take it easy there, killer. You were more dead than I was.
Oh God. I'm a 19-year-old.
All right. She kind of spins, and you swear her first step is like a little bit like a skip, and then she catches herself and just kind of runs off to catch up to Karut and the other guards that are making their way back to the Bermeraldi school to find the rest of you alone. Wallesley, are you... What are you...
I'm going to start making way back to the bridge. If I recall, there was lots of cleanup to do there. And so I'm wondering if this is the kind of party that's around for that. Probably not, but I'm still going to check. And then I'll backtrack to the tea kettle place. And if it's not there, I'll continue on to the wizard's place.
I would say that we would wait on the bridge for you. Because someone saw you chasing them, right?
Yeah, and I don't know if we knew that you went that far. Oh, you know what though? I think I can just cast.
Somebody
Sending.
saw me like rounding a bend at one point. I'm just saying.
Yeah. And you all took some time like immediately after the fight too to kind of decompress and stuff. So it's been 15 or 20 minutes since all of that happened.
Okay. I'm gonna cast Sending to Wallesley and be like, "Hi, are you okay? We're still on the bridge cleaning up. We'll meet you here if you can soon. Bye." And then I realized my invisibility just dropped.
Yep.
My response would be
Fuck.
no.
Go.
My response would be, I will join you shortly. I had to pursue and identify the mercenaries that were helping the enemy. I have some news. I shall join you shortly. Did I say that already? Am I running out of work?
Takes a while to get used to the text messaging.
Why is there a character limit?
It's literally just like live tweeting at each other. All right, so you wait around, and eventually Wallesley finds his way back to the bridge, looking a little bit damp, but
I did
mostly
send an image of the fruit that I almost had. So
that uses up several characters.
Oh.
And you are all joyfully reunited once again.
So, what'd you find? I think that we've also kind of
firstly,
gone
is
over to, like,
everybody
a corner.
okay? Because I had been I walked the line of existing for a moment until your magic's restored me to, well, pretty much all the way, mostly. How's everyone else doing? Oh my god, that was brutal.
I'm pretty fine.
Is anyone physically hurt? Besides snarkily hurt?
I'm all right. How you doing? I feel like I'm holding Tebrin up.
You are, absolutely.
Pretty much like the whole, Wesley and the Princess Bride.
To the pain.
Dead. He's been mostly dead all day.
Bosley
Driving.
will happily look down and make sure his boots are no longer squeaky. It's been a little bit of a walk, so yeah, they're getting better. It's like, yeah. I chased down the last of them fast. I haven't met anyone who could even match my pace in a long time. This woman, her name was... Wait, I wrote it down on this piece of paper. And I look on the piece of paper, then I ask the DM out of character, what does it say on the piece of paper again?
Idali.
Idali.
Edali.
And then the other word on this piece of paper.
The other name on the piece of paper is Ofix.
Excellent. So I chased down this woman. I guess her name or her pseudonym might be Idali. She works for a mercenary group.
And I'm just gonna yank the piece of paper out of it.
No. This is not a book. This is a shred of paper.
Well, I have
Not
to be
all
sure.
paper
what
belongs
you're
to you.
saying-
What are you doing?
Well, I just have to be sure what you're saying is actually what you're reading because reasons.
Are you saying I can't read?
No, I see it, please. You can
Why?
have it back. I
Why
have
are you
to be
acting
sure.
manically?
Because
There's text. There's, paper and words involved.
This was written. It's not even printed. It's in cursive, and it's not good ones.
okay, can I see it, please?
Yes, afterwards.
Afterwards.
Please just show her she's insufferable when you have knowledge and she can't have
Don't-
it. It's
don't give-
ridiculous.
No reason to qualify why
Don't
she's
give in to
insufferable or
bullying.
when. It's all the time, apparently.
Tempered just slips over a little bit further and puts his head on top of Roswell's.
Look,
Just make her. Oh, you've got some gold you can give her for that piece of paper.
Ooh, yeah, I do. Hold on. How much would you like? 3, 6, 10, 12. Here, this pouch. I don't know. Can I have that piece of paper, please?
Akira, I need to teach you how to negotiate.
Akira, if you want, you can just look at the paper and write down the words.
I don't need to
into
write
your
down. I just
better-
need to see that what you're saying is what I'm seeing, and what
But-
I'm seeing is what you're saying, and
But you're gonna write it down anyway, so just...
I just want to see it. I just want to look at it.
Okay, once I'm done with my very long and really extendedly long moments of talking, I will let you have a piece of paper forever. It's fine.
Time out. Did you swim back?
No, I had walked back.
Okay, I didn't know if the ink would be smeared.
No, the reason that's why I was saying my boots are probably mostly dry at this point, not squeaky. So, point is, the mercenaries are still under the employ of the enemy, and likely the enemy is not happy, which means the great threat we fought on this bridge is not the only enemy to be found in a very close proximity to ourselves. Having purchased the mercenaries took quite a bunch of losses. I look around the bridge, make sure that that's still true. And
Nobody has gotten up.
and will likely, as a company, not be much more involved, excepting I don't have how many additional numbers they may have. I have no idea if this is a small amount of them or the vast majority. And with these types, you can't trust them, as they're land pirates, really. They don't have a ship. They do have a ship. Actually, the ship is called the Storm Runner. And if we want
That's
to,
stupid. You don't run towards a storm.
I completely
You run
agree.
from storms.
Right. You don't run actually in a ship.
God.
There's no running in a ship. You can run around the ship.
But can a ship run away?
No, you can
What
flee.
do you call it? You flee.
You sail.
She's doing this on
See,
purpose. She knows
I'm
exactly what
sailing away.
hmm
Come sail away. No, never mind. We're gonna go to. If we wish, we can seek this ship, the Storm Runner. That is where the mercenary company is currently.
So
And
shouldn't
the
we
name
just go?
Ofix is the leader of the mercenaries.
He
There
said it
might be
again. He
information
said it
we can
again.
glean from them.
Shouldn't we just go to the ship and kill all of them?
You can report this if you wish to the authorities. I'm sure they would more likely
That's
enjoy
But
handling
the
that sort of
They're
policing.
mercenaries.
Right. But they're under the employ of the enemy.
That
Until
doesn't
they're not
matter.
anymore.
They haven't done
Right,
anything illegal
but they are.
unless they are literally.
They have something. They did illegal things. Can I please have that piece of paper?
Wait,
I've done illegal things.
Table talk real quick. Has Akira told us what she found in her research? Okay,
Kendra
time
knows
in.
that
There we go.
Only Kendra.
So my point is,
She
if
doesn't
we
know
want to parlay with them,
I remember the name Ofix.
Do you? You can remember
Well-
that much? Can I see a piece of paper?
Now, where do I remember that name from?
I don't know.
Akira, you were
is it
telling me.
really important right now? This name
No,
Ofix?
it's not at all.
It's an oaf
Please.
with an X at the end. What's the problem?
Please, this is like, now I'm getting anxious because her anxiety is like fumes and I'm breathing them in.
If you're feeling uncomfortable, I could banish her.
Hey!
It's worked really well before.
I didn't understand why you did the first time, but I'm starting to glean a reason.
Just want to look at it. Can I just read it, please?
Lastly, it's just really important. If we wish to speak with them, we may be able to glean the location of our enemy here. If we don't, I would suggest we talk to the carrot guy, whatever his name was.
Carrot
Yeah.
guy?
Yeah,
Carrot.
it was
Oh,
the wizard.
Karush.
Now, and I go like this.
Firebolt. No.
You're like those seals we found on those rocks that one time. You're very, very. Here you go.
What do you say, Akira?
Hold on 1 second. Hold on.
No.
I was having too much anxiety and I lost my freaking page. Where'd it go?
Jesus
What do you
Christ.
mean you lost your page? What were you doing with your book?
When you don't know if it's role playing or not.
You know, I yearn for a land without libraries.
Holy shit, where'd it go?
Well, that she
Come on,
seems to be
there are
finished with the page.
The
That's
rose thorns.
let's
The
let's
rose
walk
thorns.
back.
You should have seen the other words on the piece of paper I tore this from.
Here it is. Here it is. I found it. Okay. So, the rose thorns. There were 7 people, right? They were doing blood magic, right? And they killed a lot of people. And the leader was named Ofix. And the other one, Adali, the female. She's female, right? She's got pointy ears because she's an elf. She's a wood elf.
She's definitely not a wood elf.
I
Her
turn
eyes
and look at
lie.
Karen, and I look concerned. Why?
Devrin, at this point, has his forehead like resting on top of Roswell's head.
They killed people. And
It's
they were
okay, buddy.
expelled.
Do,
They were
do we
expelled.
do we hit her?
No. I'm just
How do we
because I was just looking
I
for
could
the
do a stunning strike. Hold on.
how do we calm them down?
I found them in the library, and then they're here in real life the next morning. That's like
Kira,
that's
Kira,
crazy. The library
mo-
means something. Okay.
take a moment
I mean,
and start again and use, sentences.
I did.
No, you use 2 words at a time and varying sentences
But
with little.
yeah, while you didn't find barely anything in the library, I found them. They are the rose thorns. They are the group of people that were students in the school. That school's
Right.
bad school. Bad school.
there's
bad.
nothing. It's just a school.
No,
We-
it's
we
horrible.
knew-
They have
we-
horrible people.
Look, Akira, we already knew about them. So what new information do we have?
The freaking people with the magpie was the freaking rose thorns.
They're just mercenaries.
They're not just mercenaries. They were doing blood magic. They did a wish spell.
Okay, so you do a little blood magic, you become a mercenary.
No,
Look,
you
the
don't
soldiers on the
understand.
bridge
Who
certainly
amongst
weren't
us
doing
haven't
blood
done a
magic.
few?
Who was doing blood magic?
The Ofix and the Adali people, and there's another one, Natash. Them too.
Wasn't this like 50 years ago or something?
no?
Right.
Well,
It is possible these Ofix is the same as the other Ofix.
no.
So
it's
we
the
should be
same.
wary of.
I think it's the same. They were doing blood magic, and they created a wish spell, and by
Yes, we know the story.
yes, they killed people.
We kill people.
We've also killed people.
We
We
kill a lot of
just
Yeah,
people.
but not in like a ritualistic way. So I can see a fine line here.
Well,
It's a big deal.
Kendra looks really uncomfortable. Just once.
Self-defense. I took no glee in taking anyone's life.
I did.
I mean, I think we're
Yeah, that's-
presuming some things about these people. There is not necessarily glee involved.
Yes, when
We don't know anything about them.
what happened before seemed, the impression we were given to be a terrible accident. Sometimes you get carried away with shit that seems cool and people die.
Yeah, I don't
Well,
like
you
that
don't ever
reasoning
want to
coming
make
from
that
you.
kind of deal with whatever powers are out there. That's
It's a big cover up though. Like, you guys, the people that died are not even listed. They don't even know, like, recognize them as
Sure, I
people.
mean that must have been extremely embarrassing for the school.
Yes.
It
and
happens.
wrong.
What?
Here's the thing, though.
Of all the
There-
wrongs in the world, this is a very
This
minimal
seems
one. Sorry, Russ,
relatively
go ahead.
minor.
I don't know, though.
I think the importance of the discovery is that our enemy are capable casters, regardless of whether they were able to achieve a wish spell. I doubt that that's actually the case if they're here lending their efforts out as mercenaries, unless their wish was laughably
We don't know what their
Like,
wish
I'd like-
was.
a
Well,
pound
their
of butter.
Wish
I don't know what.
consume the souls of 4 people, 5, somebody.
Yes, but that's not what they wished for. So I dare say whatever they tried to wish for didn't
How do you
occur.
know it consumed their souls?
Because
Well,
that's
remember what we
happened.
saw earlier in the
The-
vaults?
Yes, we saw dead
I-
people.
I believe Karut mentioned, or somebody mentioned, that they drained the magic force from the people they were casting the spells with.
Yes, just like the people that you guys found while we were astro projecting.
Why don't we bring this to Karut's attention? He seems to be very versed in the magical arts.
Well,
And
Yes,
this
that makes
is-
a lot of sense.
This is soundly in his wheelhouse.
Yes.
Yes, let's do that.
Okay, there's
I would
another-
also like to lie down.
there's
Roswell,
also
go ahead.
one small problem we have. And I look down at the case by my feet.
Oh yeah, we have the stuff. about
Tevin
this.
also peers
Maybe.
over your shoulder to look down at the case by your feet.
There's sort of like 10 of them now.
I thought we
think
ditched
my
that.
headache got worse.
To be
No, the one I have, the one that we got earlier that delivered to us was fake.
I thought
How-
this was also listed as
How do we know this one isn't fake?
I could identify it.
Well, then let's
Is
do
that proof enough?
Need
Yes.
to
Identify.
get to
Go.
a quiet place to open it so you
let's
can
take it to
identify
Karut as well. Is this
Yes.
not his wheelhouse?
No.
I think we should tell Karut personally. I'll leave it
Is
up to the rest
Karut
of you.
not our ally? I misunderstand this situation a little
But he
bit.
works for the Empire, and this is technically the Empire's property. We're breaking the law.
No, we're not.
Yes,
We killed a chicken wizard and got a stuff.
If we withhold it from the Empire, we're breaking the law. Why don't
So
we
we're
bring
not
it to
breaking the
Karut's?
law yet.
But it's Roswell's. Technically.
I mean,
Yes.
technicalities are
I
weird.
am very conflicted on what to do with this, clearly. But I also don't think we can just go back to Karut carrying this case in through the halls of the Brimeraldi school.
I
I
we
think
can.
we should probably meet Karut someplace not at the Brimeraldi school.
Kar-
This is what we're
Karut went
gonna
out of
be
his way
discussing.
to ensure that this one,
Who are you
Kendra,
pointing at?
I'm
I-
terrible at
I-
names. I've only been here a day and a half for 2 days. But he
And
went
what a 2 days it has
look,
been.
time
Look,
to,
Wally,
to
you're
see
doing
that
your
your
best.
your body was safe while your soul turned into a body and walked into it. It's a really weird situation.
Yeah, he didn't have to do that. We're not,
I think if you're going to trust anyone in this empire that for some reason you have a base mistrust of,
Well, it's just
it's going to be Karut.
I do trust Karut. It's a question of divided loyalties and what we'd
Look.
be putting him in a difficult position.
Can I make a short case really quick? If
It's
we're
a
going
long
to get
case, though. Look,
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot. I believe that Karut wants to deal with the Aradore issue. I believe that the Empire wants to deal with the Aradore issue. I believe it's been made apparent. I believe it's been made apparent
Bless you.
that the Brimarodi School cannot adequately care for the staff. We have managed to get it twice, once from its first place, and once again from the people that stole it from the Brimarodi School. So it's quite likely that, if anything, the staff may be entrusted to either us or Karut if we bring it back in order for it to be kept safely.
I think you put more trust in the Empire than you should.
I think you don't put enough trust in the Empire as you should.
You don't trust the government.
There's a middle ground here.
The question is not. The question is what Karut is going to do once we give him the staff, not what the Empire is going to do. If the Empire is made aware that we have the staff, the Empire is going to take the staff and put it someplace else. There are really no. The Empire has made it clear that it doesn't want us to have the staff. It had the chance to give us the staff.
Okay.
The question is what Karut is going to do.
So the simplest answer right now is to just like cast sending and tell him, be like, oh yeah, by the way, I forgot to tell you, we found this on the body when we saw you earlier.
We just forgot.
Why don't we just go meet him?
Yes.
Okay, I'm all for meeting with him. I am just super worried about carrying this into the school.
That's just
my only point. It's not a lack of trust.
Go back to the inn. I am not kidding about wanting to spend the rest of whatever this very, very long conversation is going to be lying down. And he can just meet us there.
Let's just go talk to Karut. Please, this is taking...
Is the inn as secure as you'd like it to be?
Yeah, I don't know why we're trusting the inn of all... Well, more
yes, it
so
repelled
than the
that
inn.
attack.
Yeah.
Do whatever you want. I'm just very tired.
Okay.
If you could all cover me while I open up, because we've established the case cannot fit in the bag of holding, but the staff itself could.
Yeah, do you want me to identify why you have it out there already?
No.
Okay, that's cool.
Wait, how long does identify take?
Like 10
ritual.
minutes.
Well, you can cast it using a spell slot if you have
how do
it
you just-
prepared.
Oh yeah, I can just do that. I can do it instantly if you want me to.
Oh, if you want to do it instantly, yes.
So
Yeah.
just tap it while it's being dragged into the bag.
Okay, I'll cover you with my big body and touch it.
I'm not gonna touch your beautiful body. I'm gonna just.
I would like a soundbite at that last 10 seconds.
All right,
Okay.
so you are trying to slip it into the bag of holding
And I'm
while
gonna
you
touch it.
quickly cast Identify on it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
And you're doing this just sort of out in the middle of the street.
No. I want to be like in a closest thing to an alley we can find right now.
All right, you can find an alley
Okay.
because you're in a
Thank
city.
God.
There are lots
Yes.
of alleys. No roll required.
But can we find an ally?
Yeah. No,
Close.
no, you can't.
That sounds very out of character.
We are making it impossible.
We shall not. It's in our charter.
We shall not be allied with anything. We shouldn't even help each other.
Oh, I just thought of a great character concept. Dang it.
Write it down.
We
Write
can
it
kill
down.
Wolseley.
I mean,
I
I
like
have more
Wolseley, but
disintegration
we'll see.
spells.
I do too. Okay, so slipping it out. Akira, you ready?
I'm casted.
Okay.
All right. The object transfers from the case to the bag of holding. Bloop. Easily enough. You cast
It still
Identify
takes a
on
minute.
it.
It still
still-
takes a minute.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're holding it there for a minute.
Well, yeah.
Let me just make
This
a
is
roll
awkward.
then.
People are covering us. Please.
Yeah, but not magically.
No.
All right.
Only we had a little.
Everything
hot time.
transpires. You identify the item as the Staff of the Elders. And into
It's
the
the
bag it
staff.
goes.
Cool. We got the stuff of the others. Good job, everybody.
As it drops into my bag, I'm very excited, but I like let it go. I kind of don't want to, but I let it go.
What would you all like to do now?
So, are we going to
Nap.
Karut?
Ooh, are we taking this bird head with me?
Yeah, we're taking the. No, they took it for
Oh, they
us.
took it.
He
They
took
took
the
it
bed.
for us.
Okay.
Let's go to the Brimrody School where we can rest safely and talk to Garud.
All right.
Tabard, I can give you a piggyback ride.
Oh, I can carry you.
I'm fine.
You can all carry each other as much as I care. But let's just start walking.
As you all gaggle your way back to the Bermeraldi School, it's about 15 minutes or so. You enter and, sort of recognizing you by now, are allowed to come in. Karut is made aware of your presence, and you are escorted to that same sort of large room that he appears to be using as his base for the moment. And you're ushered into the large circular table, again, sort of granite walls, nice polished marble floors. Everything's very, very ornate and very stately in the Dracoran aesthetic of sort of rich crimsons and golds to everything.
I look around for any kind of blankets or pillows or whatnot to and I start kind of over mothering Tebrin.
Yeah, there are some pillows as like sort of cushions on the chairs themselves.
Head up.
Is there anybody else in the room?
Karut is in the room.
Okay. So, I look at Roswell. Yes, no?
Yeah. Okay. So.
Tevrin, as this is going on, just kind of stumbles over and sits down in a chair and puts his head down on the table.
So, the Nagpa had something on him.
It's the staff of the elders. Just to get the suspense out of the way.
Yeah.
So, you recovered it then?
Yes.
That's wonderful news.
You knew it was gone?
We all went down there together, yes, and we saw the empty case.
It was the real one, by the way. We identified it, just to be sure.
Which is counter to what you told us. You said that you were in possession of a decoy.
Well, that's what they were told.
He said he
but
didn't know.
Yes.
The whole point of them being decoys is that we don't actually know which one the real one is.
I pull the decoy out of my bag. Oh yeah, and then here's the this one got delivered to us.
Wait, just now?
No, earlier.
I'm a little confused here.
In the last day and a half since I've joined this thing, that's when this was delivered.
We don't know who gave this to us, but it just appeared.
And you didn't think
might
that
have
would
been-
be relevant information to share in all of this?
Well, you
Maybe,
kind of
but
like
a lot of
gave
things
us
happened
astral
very
projection, so
fast.
took over.
I don't know your thoughts on this, but it seems that the Brimrody School is perhaps not the safest place for the staff.
I would
No offense
agree.
to you or the Brimrody School. Unless you know somewhere far safer, my suggestion, thought of in 2 seconds or less,
I'd expect
be-
nothing more from your planning.
would be to say to the Brimrody School that we have recovered the stuff of the elders and to hand them the decoy. And then we take the stuff of the elders somewhere else. We're like 9 layers of decoys deep at this point.
So, you're suggesting that I lie to my superiors to hand them the decoy so that
No,
they think
and
they
this is
have
why.
the real staff, and then you keep the actual staff of the elders, which you've identified.
Well,
Are you sure you can
you-
tell which one's which?
You could keep it. I don't care who has it. You don't have to lie to them. You can just say, we've recovered the stuff of the others that was taken, because this one was also taken, just from somewhere else, and then handed to us. So you're not really lying. You're just, wiggling
Kendra,
the
I'm
truth a little
sorry.
bit.
I'm sorry, but that's actually lying. Who taught you things? But that's lying.
Lies of
that's not
omission are
lying.
still lies.
Anyway, you have a decision to make.
Well, so the other people in play here that were sent to steal it were the people from that Rose Thorn group.
The rose thorns?
Yeah.
Interesting. I'm allergic to roses.
Wow, that really sucks if Bremeraldi's like that's the symbol of Bremeraldi.
I'm not
and
actually
you're
allergic. Yes.
Why'd you lie?
Way to commit to the bit, Karut.
Are you saying that face down into the table?
Yeah.
Truly dizzying, you guys.
I've had a very bad day.
I hate to say this. It pains me, so I'll say it very quickly. I tend to agree with your logic here, Kendra. Several of those words just... I feel nauseous.
Tebron's like, Tender slowly comes up off the table.
I hand him some ginger root. This tends to help.
I don't do any of the sort of herbal drugs.
It's ginger.
It's crack cocaine.
Yes. Well, do you have... It's probably best to return it in the case itself.
What did we do with the case?
We still have it.
Oh,
I think there's
okay.
two
There's
of
actually
them.
2 alleyways with 2 different cases.
So you've... Oh my god. All right, forget about the cases.
Because look at the optics on this from our side. How are we going to walk around with that huge case?
I don't know. Perhaps we should have a less interpretive relationship with truth and exchange of information, and we wouldn't have these problems.
That's what
Yeah,
I've
that
been trying to say.
That'd be nice if someone didn't just, withhold information from other people that are crucial to things.
I don't
Like-
even know who's being
I don't know
subtweeted
either.
right now. I've lost track. We're too many layers.
All right. For the ongoing purposes of keeping the staff safe, it will remain in your possession.
Really?
We will...
Why would you question that?
No, I'm not questioning it. It's more like this is the first time that crew has ever not
don't
said it's with the Empire the whole time. So Roswell is just
Don't let him change his mind. Just go with it.
I'm not, you assholes.
We appreciate
Roll for
it.
initiative.
Thank you.
The question here is not a matter of loyalty. My job is to protect the Empire and its property, and if right now it being in your possession is perhaps the most protected place it can be, then that's where it will stay. And what will jeopardize that is the other information. So, as long as they believe that they have now the correct copy, we
They
shall
have
at least
nothing.
buy us some time. Well, we're going to give them the other copy that you have.
I just pulled it out of my bag, Kara.
Oh, I thought you meant the people who you got it from. The Rose Thorns and the Nagpa.
We'll move on to that now, I suppose, since we have a plan.
We have a
So-
location for the Rose Thorns that's very temporary, as they are about to set sail. And leave the area to locations probably more obscured by whatever magics has kept them safe all these years. So,
It's interesting. I know very little about them, save for the stories and rumors that have circulated through the school, but I always had heard that they were very firmly based in Vesular. They're not a bunch of pirates.
well, considering whatever losses they may have incurred here at the bridge during this entire little experience, as I like to say, it may have forced their hand to be a little more cautious. Or
Were
it's
you
simply their
able?
way of trapping us.
Were you able to get the sense? Has the job been completed, or is this an ongoing?
The person I spoke with, this Idali, was very particular in saying that their employer would not be happy. So the implication
Ongoing. Okay.
is that their employer is still somebody they are in contact with, and thus will likely continue that employment. I asked if additional counter offers would be considered. She gave me Olfix's name and a location, which is a ship. That we can meet up at. That being said, it might clearly be a trap as to change around their fortune and maybe give them the upper hand. But that being said, also, it could be that they are desperate and wouldn't mind selling out the information as to the location of this employer, because the enemy is near. You cannot coordinate all this without it.
So, if I may make assumptions, the employer is probably Torin. Any disagreement on that?
Well, we can maybe before we make let's think of the questions we want to ask the Nagpa head.
That might. I could also say that all right, so I agree with the NAGPA questions, but I also say to this, Kendra.
Yep.
Yes. Yes, this, most likely this is all machinations of this great evil that you've described in Aradore. With that being said, the lieutenant here, local, has not been destroyed. This NAGPA was not it. Or she would be like, well, my employer's gone and dead. But that's not what she said.
Well,
so there is something.
Do we know?
He had a
Lieutenant
master too.
Here.
Do they say specifically that there's something here, or is the employer not Torin himself? Do we know? Did they say specifically that there is a difference between the two?
No, Torin was not brought up. They said the word
I know that
employer.
Torin wasn't. I know, but did they say that their employer was here specifically?
It seems unlikely that they'd somehow be dealing directly with the Lich King of Aradore.
It is unlikely, but he is. While we were astral projecting, the place did reek of this blood magic-y stuff with the whole, sucking the magic from things. So, maybe they shared that information with him.
If they have some special way of circumnavigating great distances, then maybe there's no lieutenant here. That's not necessarily a fact, but it is likely given the fact that this is the Brimeraldi School of Wizarding and Crystal Balls. So they're going to figure out if there's messages going to and fro in any most conventional crazy ways, right? Because you guys with the Oopa Loop and the Spookus.
I have a... So, when you ask the chicken wizard questions when it's dead, is it, does it have to answer truthfully, or does it just ramble?
I don't think it does.
Do we have any ability to, force...
Out of character, I'm pretty confident we're going to get what we need, but...
Oh, okay, you put it in there.
Okay. They are sailing to Aradore in a couple of days, is what my guess is.
Not from this side of the world.
It's quite far.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Okay,
but
well
it's
then where
quite
would
far.
they be sailing to?
We have no idea.
Wherever their refuge might be from this place that has hunted them.
It could be Aradore, but it's not 100% Aradore.
So you would know, Wallesley, to sail from Vesular to Aradore would take months.
Right.
3 or 4 months.
Not from this side of the world.
Right.
Mm.
If you think
So
you're
you'd
going to
have
get
to
to
go, all
India
the
by
way
going
around,
this way,
right?
you're right, and I should get paid to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, but I don't really need to go there.
But the spice.
Yeah, you'd have to sail all the way down south around the southern tip of Dillon.
The Dillon Canal is right there.
Yes. Or the vast, unyielding ocean of death,
Uh,
beyond which worlds have not been developed.
So the Dillon Triangle of... Yeah, it's just this
Yeah.
place. Choppy.
said you didn't know much about the Rose Thorns. Do you know more than the library books here?
Unlikely. Do you have some sort of specific question? I mean, I can
Yeah.
ask around. There are potentially people who know more than I.
I'm curious who their teachers were, professors, or people they were studying directly under.
we tend to spread our course load across many. At any time in one's career, they likely have seen all the various teachers and arcanists in some capacity or another.
Is there anyone that practices, maybe on the side, blood magic of any sort?
Necromancy and the like are explicitly not areas of study at the school.
So where would students of this school learn of such things?
Books, probably. Old scrolls and tomes.
I mean, if you want
Rumors,
to learn things, then
experimentation.
you'll learn them.
I'm just
Information is always there.
It's a valid point. There are certainly other avenues of magical information aside from the school itself. Vesulara is a hub of activity surrounding the schools. There's bard colleges here as well, and you can never really trust bards.
Thanks.
I agree completely.
The black market here for magical items is also quite high, as the dropout rate from Bremeraldi is quite prolific. Usually only about 5 to 10% of those who are admitted make it past the first year, and most of them still feel entitled to the practice and life of magic which they had envisioned for themselves at the beginning of their studies, but are here in Vesular, and some turn to more unscrupulous careers, or otherwise trying to take advantage of the little that they still know.
I'm just trying to figure out, I'm trying to bridge the gap between being a student and learning of this sort of magic to create a wish spell. Like, I feel like they had to have been under the direction of someone else.
No, not
Can
necessarily.
I stop you right there, Akira? You seem very thirsty for knowledge and you find it on your own accord. So you tell me you didn't want the answer to something, you wouldn't go out and find it yourself?
Well, I haven't done it yet.
What?
You do it every
you do
day.
it every
you're
time
you're
you go
considering
outside.
blood magic?
No!
No. I'm just saying that theoretically, someone wants to find the answer to a question and they are so motivated, they go and seek it out themselves. Somebody gets curious about blood magic, they go and seek it out. They don't necessarily need to be led there by a leader.
Right, I just want to know who they learned it from. Like, you
A
have
book,
to have
a
had,
term-
like,
They could
a...
have learned it from anything. It doesn't have to be a person. I didn't learn how to do magic. No, I didn't. I just learned it.
I mean,
I just wanna know
I
who
was taught how to
implanted
use
the
a sword
memory.
and not much else, and he snaps his fingers and sparks come up.
You don't have to.
You just
have
pick things
had-
up sometimes.
Yes, and sometimes you just find things in books or rumors, or like it doesn't necessarily have to have been a person that said you will be the blood magic people. Like,
I know
Your
that, Kendra.
goddess just gives
I'm just
Like-
trying to see if there's an influence here that originated here or what. That's all I'm trying
Well,
to
I mean,
figure out.
have there been problems since?
No, I think it was a valid cautionary tale. I do see some merit in your inquiry, though, as these types of things take years and years and years to figure out on one's own, self-taught. But if you have some sort of master or other even guiding hand to point you into the right direction, even if it's a matter of putting the right book in your hand, things go a
Yeah,
lot
student
faster.
advisor. Yeah.
I mean, there are forces at play even within the Empire that deal in dark arts and that sort of thing. I mean, the Shadow's Oath has been around since the beginning of time, and they have a fair amount of practitioners of dark magic. I know from the south in Nazrael, it's at least commonplace to study, so travelers from there might bring extra knowledge. We pride ourselves on the inquisitive nature of the students here, so it doesn't take much more than a small seed of curiosity to cultivate into something that blooms with much more potent forces. That being said, we also try to teach the discretion and wisdom necessary to choose which is the right things to pursue, but on some people that isn't always as easy to instill as others.
So it could have been a patron in the warlocky kind. It could have been, some
I just
big
wanted to
bad
know who their
deity.
closest friends, professors were. That's all.
I'm pretty sure it's probably themselves and the ones that are dead.
And Snape.
And why
Snape.
is it that the people who died from their experimentation are not listed, are not recognized, are not remembered and mourned in any way on any piece of paper in the city
Paper doesn't mourn.
at all?
I don't have an answer for you there. It's bookkeeping of that sort of thing is well out of my purview. I'm sure it's in the record somewhere.
Nope, it's not, because I have looked for it. They don't even have obituaries. Their names are nowhere.
Of all the things to care about, this is so far down on my list that I feel.
Well, I'm glad that
physically ill.
you don't care about the people who died for these students who are reckless, who are
You
stealing
choose the
staffs and
craziest
whatnot.
hills to die on.
Oh,
We've
get
got
off
so
of it,
many.
Kendra.
We've got. I've been off the hill for months. I'm trying to fucking swim into the ocean and drown at this point. I just want
I
to go.
know. You know,
I just wanna-
Karut,
I just want to go and kill Torin, but every time I try and kill
he
Torin,
just banished me from the astral plane. And oh wait, where is that guy?
I
that's
don't
been
know what's
following us
happening
around?
right now. Stop.
okay. So let's talk to the chicken wizard. Then let's talk to Cainsley. Then let's try and find my astral friend. Do you know where he is, Karut? Did you see him walking around anywhere?
I thought
gave him
he
a
was
mace
with
and he
you.
We gave him a mace and he wandered off. He's a celestial.
So
we should
you
probably
you
find-
armed the stranger who is in your care,
Yes.
and now he's loose somewhere in the city.
Well,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he has my mace. I'm complicit in this.
getting
I'm sorry. I'm going back on everything I've just decided. I'm going to meet the staff of the elders back.
But he gave me something in return. It's mine, and you can't have it. Anyway, so
Wait.
oh, did people take anything from Affy, or was she guarding the staff? Like,
Oh yeah, why did they attack her? That was
yeah, did they take something from her?
Affy, out of all of us, paused for a moment to look at the big picture and saw that the direction of the break-ins was actually somewhat leading away from a certain direction from the first one. So if you responded to each of them, forces would move. She simply positioned herself at the far end of that, in the direction that intuitively you would not travel, and in so doing was able to track them as they escaped from the archives. But in her eagerness was found, and they decided to take her hostage for her efforts. If she had not been quick-witted, I think they would have likely gotten out of the city without us knowing, as our attention was elsewhere. All of the other various incursions were not found to have taken anything or done any more than just generally serve as a distraction.
Okay, makes sense. So what are we gonna ask the chicken wizard?
is his head sitting on this table?
We're gonna ask him who he works for, obviously. Anything else?
Isn't it 3 questions?
What threats
It
are
is.
local to this area that we need to deal with immediately? Might be a good one. If there's a
Right,
prior
guys.
relationship between these, what did you call them? Flower cult?
The Rose Thorn
Yes.
boys and girls.
So far, I think all we've seen are women.
Ovik sounds like a guy's name, right?
This was
I think
specifically
there was at least
a
one male.
female,
Yeah,
as
that was
she
the
said,
male. That was it was the
very
human
much
that
that we
Um,
don't bring up the government when we talk to Ophis. She doesn't like that.
All right, so questions for the NAGPA are 1, who do you work for?
Who do you work for?
Who does number 2 work?
was-
Who?
Kurt, do you think it's possible they stole anything other than the staff?
We checked the inventories, and they did not.
Okay. That's weird, because there's a ton of powerful crap down there. Why didn't they just take that too? That's fine.
Probably because the Staff of the Elders is enough power to destroy the entire world, making everything else sort of irrelevant.
Or perhaps the Staff of the Elders does something that none of the other items do, and that's the only thing they need it for.
Okay, that's a great question. What did you need this? What was the intent with the staff?
From a minion's point of view, it would be just
So-
to bolster the master's power, right?
What was your intent with the staff?
That's
I
true.
think the intent
true.
with the stuff is pretty obvious. It's just to get it to Torin. So any other questions that we? What about? Do you know a way into Aradore that we don't?
Or maybe what is
Another way into Aradore.
protecting Aradore?
I mean,
We
we know
what's
what's protecting
protecting
Aradore.
Yeah.
Mountains,
Oh,
magic.
what about? Do you know a way past the barrier guarding the city?
Or what is the barrier?
Well,
Like,
I don't.
no,
I don't care what it is as long as we can get past it.
but if we know what kind of magic it is.
That's what I was trying
but
to go for.
It could tell us how to get past it, right? We just like skip a question. Do you disagree?
I've had out of character thoughts about it, but I can't.
Hmm.
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 Kira, what are we up to in number?
1.
Who do you work for? That's where we're at.
Yeah.
Well,
We
second
just had an entire conversation.
second
Yes.
question. Second question is barrier related, whatever it is.
Yes.
Who's
but I
local
need,
to
like-
the area that are enemies to this?
I mean, it doesn't.
What if there's 7 more Nagpa?
Okay.
I think we know.
A nest.
Okay. No, actually, let's change question 1 because they're just gonna say Torin, right? It should be, who is the local
Well, you
lieutenant?
don't know
where-
that.
Yes, I'm
We know that.
99.99% sure.
Oh, here it is. Here it is. Who does Torin have in his employ?
He's gonna start talking. He's not gonna stop for a long time.
Well, that's good. More
Yeah,
information is better.
We get a list though.
Here. Why don't you
We
just
should
use the word
ask-
here?
Yeah, we should
Okay.
ask who is the person leading the operations here in Vesula, and where are they? Right?
We might broaden it to Drakkar.
To
Dracora?
Dracora?
Decora.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, Dracora, that's
Who
fine.
in
I'm sorry as I
Dracora?
put on my aftershave.
Who is
Drakkar.
Torin's agent that is leading his operations in the Dracoran Empire, and where are they?
That was a confusing question to me. Can we repeat that?
The question is who
Who
Who and where?
are
who and where is Torin's
who and
agent?
where? That's 2 questions. Right?
Well, I
It's
don't.
are because we're assuming it's plural.
Who are?
Well, it can be two. It can be 2 questions then. Who is Torin's agent in the Dracoran Empire? Where is Torin's agent in the Dracoran Empire? And how do we get past the barrier? That is,
That's 4 questions.
it's 3 questions. What?
We're not asking who he works for. We're assuming we know.
But why would we assume when we can find out for sure?
Because if you ask those questions and he doesn't have answers, we then know he's not Torin.
Are you guys planning for the fact that if you ask one question, you might get an answer that might change your other questions?
No.
Let's talk about it for another 10 minutes.
I think that Roswell should do this because
I can't right now, darling.
but I'm gonna have too many questions.
Okay, I have an idea. I have an idea. Why don't you cast that spell into my ring and I'll do it?
No, I don't like you.
The
Oh, actually, you know what? Hang on, Kendra, are you able to disguise yourself?
I'm gonna need another soundbite.
No.
Is
No, I'm
anybody able here to disguise themselves or disguise Kendra?
I don't remember.
Or
I have a
Akira?
big
Hold
hat.
on.
I have a hat.
I think I'm pretty sure I have a disguise kit. I don't know whether I have.
What are we disguising?
I have
as?
disguise self.
Okay.
I'm not you.
But I
because
can cast it into your ring.
Yeah, and then if
Oh,
we cast Speak with the Dead into the ring, because the thing is, the Nagpa has to trust the person who's talking to it. If it's gonna have
what
it
if
be
I pretend
Akira,
to be Torin? That would be fucking awesome, right?
I
can do
mean,
I can do a good Torin. I can
I
be
have a
evil.
headache.
You know, Akira, I have an excellent question for you.
What?
For the creature.
What?
What is Torin's relationship to that goddess that you've been looking up?
Oh, which one?
That was the one
There's,
I was looking
Mashaya,
up.
Mashaya.
That was the one I was
Yeah.
looking up, not you. Haha, I found out something good. Yeah.
She didn't even tell you about her information. She doesn't really
Yes, I
care.
did. I talked about it.
Mm.
Okay, anyway.
This is like the compelling content that that
I'm
everybody looks for.
I'm slowly losing my fucking mind here. So, right, please.
What
can we
are
just
your
cast-
questions?
I don't know anymore. I have
Okay,
four of
just
them.
cast the spells into the ring, please, just before I snap and betray you all again.
You mean
so-
you want me to hold your hand? And
No,
cast...
I want you to cast the spell into the ring.
Yes, but I think I have to hold your hand. to do it.
Okay, fine. Whatever makes you do what we need to do.
How many
quicker.
levels does it hold?
Being evil is so much less exhausting, I swear.
Can the ring store
Disguise
this high
self is
level of a
just a-
spell?
Only level
It's only
1.
3rd level, isn't it?
What
Yeah,
level
it is.
It's
Yeah,
4
okay,
levels
then
of spells,
we're
I
fine.
think, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think
we're
it's
fine.
yeah.
It's 4, yes.
All right, I can't
Okay,
discuss it to make
time
these
out,
questions
time out.
anyway, so
Can we just hold for one moment? So you can hold 4 levels of spells.
Yes.
So can you cast, Tebrin, can you cast Disguise Self into that ring? You disguise yourself, then you cast Speak with Dead.
Are they both concentration?
No.
Disguise self is not concentration. I just put
Excellent.
it in chat.
Yes, I can do both.
Okay.
Let's do it. 3, 2, 1. I hold out the ring.
Okay.
I will hold Kendra's hand and cast into her ring. Speak with the dead.
And I will put my hand. I will, with my head still down on the table, grope around for a second, grab Kendra's face, and cast Disguise self. into the ring.
Nope, down there. Nope, not there.
Kendra
That's
holds
inappropriate.
her hand like,
And I will account for my own spell slot usage.
Okay. So am I disguising myself as Torin?
That seems a little too on the nose.
Who am I
if-
disguising myself as?
I
then?
think the elf that we were just fighting.
Well, why would the elf ask? I mean,
Why
I guess
would Torin ask?
Right.
that's a fair point. You got me there.
Because so based on the information Wellesley gave us,
Okay,
that
wait.
they were hired. So they're not necessarily, you know.
I will be that. Okay, I will disguise myself as the elf that we just saw, whose visage I remember perfectly.
She was wearing a shroud over her face and a hood. You have no idea what she looks like.
Well, that's fine. Then I'll have a shroud over my face and a hood,
All right, you can do that.
and then I will cast Speak with Dead on the Nagpie.
Rock. All right. The spell completes on the mostly flayed and roasted Nagpa skull. You can see it's sort of, for a second, just kind of sits idly there, and then it sort of starts to
Oh
twitch
shit! All of you should fucking hide
a
somewhere.
little bit as the the eyes glow this sort of very pale, ghastly greenish yellow color, and they kind of come into focus until you can see like holes in the swirling center of this energy, and the holes kind of turn and then fixate up on you as if it's looking at you.
I like crouch down a bit to get closer to it. Sorry about what they did to you. That was unfortunate. Our mutual friend that we report to, where can we find them?
The eyes just sort of look. I don't know who you work for.
Fuck.
Bing.
Where? Fuck. Just gonna have to burn through questions here. Where can we find who you work for?
The Isles of Aradore.
Okay, so we know. that
Direwood Castle. The master lurks.
Okay.
What happened?
All right, one question left.
I hope you twinned this.
Where can we find Torin's agent that is overseeing his plans in the Dracorian Empire?
You will not find the Shadow Witch. She is the shadow. She
Okay.
is
So it's Arisha. Cool.
gone.
That's 3 questions, right?
Yes. No, that was a 4th question. As it like recoils back in.
Blue. I mean yellow.
Be gone, chicken wizard.
It's already gone.
The
Yeah,
Shadow
only 'cause-
Witch.
Yeah, probably Arisha, right? Maybe not Arisha. Who knows? Could be someone else. I like to blame previous party members, though.
Eberyn's head stays down on the table.
Before
All right,
you assume who that might be, does not our Rose Thorn ladies also maybe fit that description?
Well,
We
that
don't
would have
know.
been me, right? I was pretending to be
You're
her.
Rosethorn?
No, where have you been? I was pretending to be her. So
It's a
Like-
disguise, Akira.
yes, I was disguised as her. So if the chicken would have been like, "What do you mean? You're you. You found yourself, you crazy bitch."
Yes, but you disguised yourself as one of them, not the leader Ophix. We do not know what that one looks like.
I mean,
That's
I would
bad,
argue
right?
if you were able to potentially schedule a meeting, then it's likely not an unfindable person.
That's true.
Are we no longer? I
The
don't
only
know about
thing-
your dead magic, but can we do this again at one point?
Not for 10 days.
That's terrible to hear.
I'll put it in storage.
Preferably cold on
Right in
ice.
the desk drawer.
I'm not
there
coming
it
back
is.
here in 10 days. Okay, so
At
on to
this rate, we'll
Kingsley.
all be dead, so it'll be fine. Or we will
So-
have made collectively one decision.
Oh, wait a minute. Time out. We can ask 5 questions.
We can?
Yes. If we read the spell, it's 5 questions.
Well, maybe somebody should have read the spell.
I did. I
Kira?
He
posted it.
appears to
Person
be in a
casting
holding
it?
pattern right here.
Shit.
Somebody linked that spell.
It's too late.
It's linked.
It's gone now, so we lost our chance.
Oh, it does say 5.
Oh wait, I'm reading Disguise Self. That's why I can't find the answer. I was like, this spell doesn't do anything like that.
It's like halfway down the paragraph. It does say 5.
It's
I
5
for some
I will
reason-
give you 2 more questions if you want. Only
Yes,
if you
oh
ask
God.
them.
Only if you decide
Only
to
if you ask them immediately.
Okay, so I'm just gonna fire
Who
off
cuts
2
your hair?
questions. Wait, well, this isn't the question. Just out of character. What was the name of that city again in Aradore?
Romont.
Romont.
Bromont.
Question: can we get past the barrier that is guarding Romont?
The mines wind deep under the city.
Okay.
Give us some Moria.
Well, final question. Fucking shite bastard.
Do you think any of those are interrogatives?
A lady
Um,
of culture
is the
before
Shadow
us,
Witch?
everybody.
What
Yeah,
is the
who-
Shadow Witch's name?
I do not know. She goes by many names.
Well, give me one of them.
The Shadow Witch.
Give me two of them.
Shadow. Period.
The skull does not know the actual
Alright.
name.
Okay.
Folks, we know who it is.
We don't.
We don't know for sure. It
We
could be
do
Arisha.
though.
We don't.
We
We
don't.
super do.
We don't.
We do.
Arisha was never a witch, so.
We spent literally an entire arc learning about Asdalia the Shadow Witch, and then we went to the Isle of Remnants and met Asdalia. Do you know who Asdalia was?
But why
Oh,
would
wait,
okay?
yeah, that makes
Why
sense.
would she give us?
It was my
the
goddamn first
decoy?
character.
Why would she give us the decoy, and these other people the real one?
I don't know, Akira. Maybe to make us think that we've got the stuff, and then to send us on a wild goose chase without
Yep.
the real stuff. But we can deal with that later. We don't know where she is or what to do about that, but we'll probably kill her at some point. Or not, you know. Sometimes we'll just die. So, should we go talk to Kingsley?
Why
If
so
we
hot
have
to see
5
Kingsley?
questions for Kingsley, that's the rest of the session.
I'm just trying to get through the check.
Unfortunately, your questions are not limited for Gainsley, so.
Yeah,
That's it.
It's very
But we
unfortunate.
could kill him, and then our questions will be limited.
We spend a lot of time doing very little. I'm just trying to rattle through some things so we can, you know.
All right.
spend
Well,
the time-
speaking about doing a little time, doing something very important, let's break for 5 minutes here while you all go and think individually about the things you might want to ask other characters coming up, and then we'll be all prepared.
I'm gonna
It's hard
think
to
of a
be the new
reason
guy
to
on the block.
argue with Akira.
So,
It's okay. I don't have any questions for Kingsley because I don't know him.
5-minute
You would think if
break.
you don't know him, you'd
Come
have
on
even
back. We will we'll be back
Deliberate.
with more deliberations.
So much more deliberating.
Imagine if we just
But I'll tell you what, nothing's more entertaining.
I think my favorite part is that you could have had that moment that Wallace was like, oh, that's why. But then you decided, no, I'm just going to give the spell to Kendra.
Well, the opportunity to hold your hand came up, seeing as you banished me instead of holding my hand before. So,
Well, that wasn't why I banished you.
All right, so
Let's
we're
just be
back
clear.
now. Everybody's here.
Oh, my coffee's like 3 minutes. Oh, all right.
You can go grab it.
Oh, I will. As soon as
There's-
it's done burbling.
Oh, it's right
You've got-
there.
You got one room, you can manage it.
Yeah. So, what would you all like to do? I hesitate to ask.
Let's go find Kingsley.
Wait, are
You
we
hear-
alive again? I gotta pick my notes. Hold on.
We are live again, yeah. Do you
Damn
want me
it.
to go? Wait, hold on. I can switch. You can.
No, we're good. We're good.
Yeah.
I will not.
All right, pick. Go for it.
Hold on.
Oh my god, that's so gross. Oh my god. It's the size of a gerbil. Holy. Oh, it actually is a gerbil. Oh, at least it runs away. That's fine. And
Oh, it's
we're
a
back.
roll and
Great.
flick. I prefer roll and flick.
That's good. Yeah, roll and flick. Perfect.
Alright, we're gonna
So,
find Kingsley.
we are back now, again.
God, the high quality content everybody's
It is
tuning in for.
solid. All right, we did it, guys. We have cleared our nasal passages so our olfactory senses can work better. And
Kingsley.
I smell another long, belabored conversation coming. Of course, you can talk to Kingsley. I let him know that you would perhaps be interested in doing so. He's,
Fled.
I think, studying
That's
just
fair.
just down the hall.
Was he excited to hear that we were here?
Kendra's already gone. Kendra doesn't care.
He seemed very curious as to what new insights you could bring to the information.
Oh, okay, cool.
Friend or a foe? Just curious.
Just a person. A person.
I don't
I'll
know
leave
which
it there.
Person.
So, Kendra, as you first make your way down...
Coffee!
No? Ah! Make your way down the hall. You see door slightly opened in the room where you saw the spectacles before. And in it sits a fairly short man, balding, a little bit pudgy. Looks like he's added a little bit of weight since last you saw him, probably now, probably like 4 or 5 months ago, since you left Aradore. As he kind of looks up, reading a book, and he has several others on, just kind of like peers down his nose and straightens up his spectacles. Kendra. Well,
Kendra gives him a big hug. It's really uncomfortable.
he just sort of pats you on the back. Well, this is certainly unexpected. Perhaps
Arrival.
destiny has aligned our paths once again. I see you too have a vested interest in Aradore itself. That's quite good. As I am quite curious as to what's going on there.
To what end?
Curiosity's end. Does there need to be a purpose for the gathering of knowledge?
Not at all. I just wanted to check.
It sounds quite beautiful, actually. That perhaps Walter has managed to solve some of the fundamental problems of mastery over life and death itself. I mean, surely there's no more intriguing course of study than that to the mortals that we are.
Well, I look forward to studying how he looks with his, like, brains and stuff splattered all over the sky. That's gonna be my experiment.
I have no interest in vengeance. I understand your motivations, but you learn very little from it. It's better to
That's not true.
perhaps consider those you thought to be your enemy and learn from them, and why and how they bested you, and then perhaps grow and adapt and change from it. Much to learn from those we don't agree with.
Anyway, Hi. Sorry. I promised you a cooler full of Fey hearts. I left them like a couple of months back now. So sorry about that. Have you learned anything about Aradore that could possibly prove useful for us? If you share information, we will happily share information about what we find in Aradore, which should sate your curiosity.
Well,
Would we say
getting
that
to the
we were
heart of the matter.
You've got about 45 seconds where everyone's barges in, and it's gonna get crazy, so I'd get to it.
Well, I appreciate.
I pull the door really tightly closed.
use my boots of speed? No, I'm kidding.
You're going privately?
She
What?
she rushed
I
out.
walked off
It's
because
okay.
you started asking questions I
okay.
didn't care about.
I do appreciate your candor, as getting down to the heart of things is, of course, most efficient. I will tell you this, I don't know much more than rumors and what I've heard from the Bremeraldi school, so we likely know similar things. It's what I can perhaps infer from that knowledge that far vastly exceeds that which you can, as I was immersed and familiar with it for much time. But information is the most valuable thing we have, and thus, if you want the information I have, since you don't seem, as I can guess, to have any particular information of value to me, then perhaps we can make some sort of other arrangement of something that would be tremendously valuable to me.
Let's make a deal.
Wonderful. I do imagine that your travels will take you back to Aradore at some point in the near future, and I am very interested in continuing my work there, especially with the latest developments really have accelerated the field of study of life and undeath and the bridges and gaps between them quite tremendously. So, in exchange for the information that I can provide you now, and continuing on through our journey, you will bring me with you to accompany you as you travel through Aradore.
Okay, I agree completely. I hold out my hand and shake.
All right. And as you shake, you see his hand sort of, again, the skin just sort of fades away translucently, and the skeletal frame inside emerges as you shake, and then smoke sort of rises off as the handshake is completed. Wonderful.
Oh my god, we're literally. Kidra's gonna walk us directly into another trap.
Surprise!
And somehow we're
It
gonna
was
get
the
another
long con all
teenager
along.
killed, even though there aren't any teenagers around anymore.
Well,
I'm gonna have a breakdown.
I will, I guess, start at the beginning, and you can stop me if I cover things that you may already know.
Hold on like 4 seconds.
We are here. We are so
hear
here by now.
And they're gonna make you repeat it all anyway, so we might as well just wait.
I will wait.
Sorry about the dragon. She just, you know, you could just banish her.
Dragon.
She's like a little. She's like a
Oh.
dragon without the cool bits.
Dragonborn, how quaint. Quite a lot of your kind down in Nosrael.
Huh?
Hi.
Well, the whole gang is here. That's, in no way more reassuring, but
Why is it weird in here? I feel weirdness in here.
I don't know what you were talking about. Oh, I made a deal.
Please,
Pardon?
Dragonborn. Not a
What?
good Dragonborn.
I thought we weren't going to use the word deal anymore.
I thought we
also
were
got
done
in
with
trouble
those.
with that too. Why? What deal did you make?
So Kingsley is really smart.
I've been
He's
muted
smarter
for 10 minutes.
He's smarter than all of us. We're fucking dumb. Like, honestly, I've worked out that we're incompetent, really. He's going to share information with us now and in the future and tell us what he infers from all the things he finds out. And in exchange, we're going to take him to Aradore, where he can continue to study the bridges and gaps between life and death created by Torin.
it's the most comprehensive Beth has ever remembered anything that has ever been said by me, by the way.
Yeah, I'm
What,
blown
what did I
away.
say? Sorry,
Could
It's
I have
okay.
added a caveat to that he not experiment on us anymore?
Deal's already
Because
been created.
I'm
You
still
can make
real-
a separate deal.
We're not making any deals. Anyone.
Kendra,
Katie, could you just not like experiment on me? Because that really sucked.
I mean, all of life is in and of itself just a series of experiments. So, us simply existing in the same sphere of influence is, in my opinion, a type of experiment in and of itself.
Cool.
Question
then I'll just
Dragonborn.
Well,
I'll
I
just-
just want to know how old you are.
I push Akira's face out of the way and I say, okay, then I'll experiment with not saving you when we're, in trouble. Okay, Akira, your question?
How old are you?
Kendra, I'm just curious about what precisely it was. What lessons, just to review,
Looks
Well,
like we're
okay.
treating him like an ally.
did you take away from the past, like 6
Okay, the
months?
lessons I took away was it's better to have Kingsley on your side than on the other side. He's going to go to Hold on,
right.
let me finish. He's going to go to Aradore
agreeing with
regardless,
you.
whether we take him or not. Sorry, Roswell, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I'm rambling. He's going to go to Aradore whether we take him or not, so it's better he comes with us so we can keep an eye on him and he can give us his insight than give it to other people.
You know what? I gotta admit, I don't know if I'm having like I'm agreeing with everything that you said.
No.
It's a deal part that's just
I'm having a
really...
really
Ken-
good day.
Kendra,
Probably because I haven't
Trevor
slept
just
in,
like steps up in
36
front of
hours.
her and takes her face in both of his hands and he goes, Kendra, I agree with you. But just so that we can go over this really fast, what got us into trouble last time was that you charged ahead and then you made a deal with somebody without consulting any of us.
Right.
So,
What's the catch?
So I made
you
a deal.
don't do this again. This is
Okay.
the last one. Now we stop and we make deals together as a
Okay,
party.
deal.
Who's the old guy?
This is Kingsley. He turned my grey bag of tricks animals into mutated monstrosities that were used to guard the city against evil. And then he worked with Torn for a bit and put a giant slug monster inside Roswell. And then he made friends with the drow and disappeared off into the sea.
We've actually never met. And Tempered extends a hand out towards Kingsley.
Oh, this is Arisha's brother.
Sir Edmund Kingsley.
Pleasure.
Ah,
I
Arissa's
believe
brother.
We exchanged a letter or two.
Yes. What is she up to these days? Separate
That
from
is
your
the
party?
question.
She's evil now.
Well, you ever heard of a shadow witch?
Yes, I have. In fact, the Shadow's Oath goes on and on about this Shadow Witch who apparently formed the organization.
That's her.
Interesting.
Arisha.
Slightly
Did I-
paradoxical in the form of timelines, but truly intriguing. I'll have to contemplate that a bit more.
Have fun.
Did I correctly hear that you were in the good graces of the enemy?
Of course, I tend not to see it as truly enemies and good and evil and all of that. It's best to not get too caught up in it, as it will stir your brain in a way that's not overly helpful. Torn was a very interested and cooperative patron for my work, and we were able to, in our various forms of alliance, accomplish great things and further the progress of necromancy and its blend in science in ways that have profoundly changed the course of the way arcane practitioners look at things.
Yes, very dramatically said. Do you have insight to their inner workings? You can reveal and or expose weaknesses that we can exploit to face this enemy?
I mean, Torn as a man is driven by many motivations. I'm sure there's ways to exploit any of them. Even though he may be ascendant to some sort of nigh immortal Lich King of Aradore.
Yeah, Lichard the Great. We need to worry about him.
Right. That was why I took my leave. The disparity in power there becomes volatile and unpredictable, and not conducive to accurate research.
Did you happen to ever take on any students under your tutelage?
Students.
Like, have you had any, people work to learn about, all of your different curiosities and things that you work on?
I have had numerous lines of conversation with a great many inquisitive minds. One of my favored pupils is a drow woman who lives in Nosriel, studied the shadow arts for quite some time. Why do you ask?
What was her name?
Larith.
Do we know that person?
Do I know that person? Being more
Do
southernly
I know that
based.
person randomly?
I'm a southern-based drow.
Doesn't ring a bell to any character in this campaign.
Edmund, do you know I assume you know of the fact that power is being sucked most likely out of the bodies of the creatures in Aradore, correct? Are we right about that?
To an extent, yes, but that is a symptom of what's going on there. The Torrens' goals from the beginning was not necessarily to just destroy the Feywild, though he did harbor a somewhat uncanny resentment towards it. But it was the vibrancy of its life that he took affront to, and sought to bring that same fervor and ability to be everlasting to the mortal folk of Aradore, and thus his excursions into the Feywild were to break it, merge it, bend it into part of Aradore, to strike at the Twilight Grove itself, and thus flood the lands with its rejuvenating waters, as that holds the key to the Fey power of revivification.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yes, it was his first of what I can only assume will be many gifts to the people of Aradore.
Gifts.
I mean,
Gifts?
the gift is in the eye of the gift giver and receiver, right?
I'm sure there's a much more poetic way to say that, but yes, of course.
Oh, yes, you're right. Gifty, givey, likey thing.
Right.
Gifted to who? Because everyone's dead.
Not anymore, they're not.
Therein lies the beauty. Torren has played many forces so very masterfully. It's astonishing that he doesn't get the credit that he deserves. He, knowing all along that would eventually break the Feywild, acquired the power to do so by making deals, by paying souls for it, spread a great, terrible plague across the lands. Buried all those dead in the plague, including his own father. Wonderful way to defer blame. And then simply flooded the lands with the rejuvenating waters of the Twilight Grove. And
So he's made an entire undead land?
but not truly undead anymore. As a lich, he is able to raise things from the dead, yes, of course, and there are purposes for undeath and soldiers and simple-minded things that turn like so many cogs in the machine that he has created, but he now has the power over true life, true resurrection, bound within the land itself, but that is only half of his goal, if I conjecture properly, and the beauty in the second half is where my interest peaks, as we've known about the Fae for for many generations, and though it is a curiosity, the art of rejuvenative magic has been something at the disposal of mortals for quite some time. Torin seeks... Do you have a question, young
Nope,
Kindra?
go ahead. You seem to be answering that question already.
Yes. Well, Torin seeks to dismantle this natural cycle of life and death completely. He, I believe, based on his conversations we've had over so many glasses of port, he wants to also bathe the realm of Aradore in the shadow forces of the Shadowfell, thus pouring death upon the rejuvenative forces, creating an endless cycle of death and rebirth. And, well, there is no purity of light and dark or life and death anymore. It all will exist in a paradox, each destroying each other, and light creating darkness, and then falling again back. And like each night comes, a new day will arise, and you may be asking what's the point of all of this, but what I theorize and what I hope to prove firsthand when I travel there is that it's not the act of this turmoil that is the point. It is the result. Tremendous amount of magical energy, the essence and the life force of these things being released, and I can only hope that Torin has perhaps found a way to feasibly harness this and use it for something productive. And it already seems that he is experimenting with twisting and distorting things as they come back, combining things, making them better, changing them. It's truly an exciting phenomenon.
This
But
is chaos.
he totally lacks the ability to fully tear a hole to the Shadowfell the way he has pulled in the Feywild.
So that's why he wants the Staff of the Elders. Okay.
The Staff of the Elders.
Yes.
Oh, you fucking mother. Fucking you. Fuck.
You know, for a scholar there, you have quite the language more akin to my sailor friends.
So he wants to use the Staff of the Elders to tear open a rift / portal / tear in the world thing to let the Shadowfell leak through into the Fey world, our world place, to make a Shadow world, Fey world, our world place everywhere.
From a fundamental level, yes, you totally grasp the concepts.
I'm a genius.
And you said it out loud, and you said it out loud, and you said it out loud to this man who was creating
Okay.
chaos. And oh my god! Karut, are you just gonna allow this?
Well,
Oh,
I
God.
don't have any particular control at the moment. I know that...
The Emperor just gonna allow this?
Well, no.
Now what?
We are currently in a long and somewhat unnecessarily belabored process of trying to discern exactly what's going on, which is why we brought an expert on the matter here, which has proven within under a day of time to be incredibly fruitful.
Ouch.
Please, we're not experts at anything.
That's true. Take it back. Embroidery.
So
Okay.
now we have a problem.
Now we have a problem.
No, now we are aware of the problem. We'll talk about this problem later.
I have another crazy thought.
Go on.
I don't get the magic or nothing, but if that lady on my boat, on the boat, if they're able to squeeze magic out of blood, and this endless cycle of life and death makes endless amounts of blood, that's weird.
Perhaps you've surmised another potential practical application for this. Blood
No,
magic.
we
Interesting.
like to call those threats, sir. You don't impose life and death on other things. Matter of fact, if you were to revive somebody in your control just to kill him again, that's more akin to torture than anything I've ever heard.
Torture, yes, most likely, but they would be neither alive nor dead for very long.
Yeah, you can justify it any way you want, sir. That's not correct.
Well, I
Okay.
believe the one takeaway from this is that we may consider the Rose Thorns not just as mercenaries, but as people who potentially have a stake in things.
I
Yes.
totally agree, which is why I've hired them.
Funny
Deborah
stuff.
just slowly puts his head down on the table, like,
Then why were
course
they
you
working
did.
with a
Okay. Fantastic.
acolyte of or a servant of Torin?
Oh, they clearly have a vested interest in the matter, so why not work with as many sides as possible? It's quite effective.
So, what was their goal?
I don't know. They seemed quite fond of
no,
my
I mean,
knowledge
You hired them for something. What did you
Oh.
hire them for?
to bring me to Aradore.
Okay,
oh, okay. There we go.
fair enough.
That's gonna be a fun ride.
Well, I mean, we're doing it instead, so.
I mean, there's enough space, I believe, on their ship.
That's
How
gonna
do
that's
you
gonna
know
be a
them?
fun ride. Hello, guys. Sorry about all your friends we killed.
I mean, you'll have to likely come up with a way to pay for passage, as I have only insured myself there, but I was very much hoping that perhaps I could convince at least some of you to come along. I think we'd make for quite a talented team, don't you
I
think?
don't think you should be going over to Aradore.
Okay,
And
well-
how do you know the
that
Rose
ship
Thorns?
has sailed.
How do
No,
you
the
know
ship
them?
has
Well,
not
not
sailed.
yet,
It's here for a
but-
few days.
Where did you meet?
What? We met in Aradore.
Nope, not you. Where did you meet the Rose Thorns?
Oh.
Here in Vesula,
How do you know about them?
well, they're quite infamous in my circles. Terribly gifted. Otherworldly so, in some ways. It's quite inspiring, really.
Inspiring, huh? And killing other people to create a wish spell, that's
Okay.
inspiring.
If we look,
Let's
Akira-
not get into the moral argument here.
Akira,
It's
I'm
not gonna
very
go anywhere.
sympathetic, but if we start going down this road, we will be here all night.
You and Kingsley have completely separate ideologies that will never in any way be aligned, so there's no point even talking
Yes, so
about it.
the answer to my earlier question is foe.
No, he's not friend or
sometimes-
foe.
Sometimes you
just
just have to
a
hold
dude.
your nose and.
He's just here for the ride.
And the freaking Empire is just letting this crazy ass guy go over there to Aradore where this crazy ass shit is happening, and they're not going to do anything about it.
Yes, they are. They're going to send us, and we're going to kill everything that's evil, and we're going to set everything right. Because
You're going to
Well-
reunite these friends
they're not
that had
friends.
shared
they're just
interests.
Hey, Kingsley. Kingsley?
Canesley.
Hmm.
As if you grow older and you need a cane. Slee.
I can respect that, I guess. The question is, of course, how would a boat on this side of the world get to Aradore in any kind of time that matters?
We can be there in under a week, so I'm told. Another wonderful reason to employ those who don't believe in the constraints of the world that everyone else seems to have accepted as being inmalleable.
I
They have
think
a
we should
shortcut.
Schedule a meeting with Ofex.
We're absolutely gonna get killed by experimental magic, aren't we?
Almost definitely, but it'll probably be mine. So anything further we need to ask at this juncture?
Would it be worth trying to head off? Oh, Kingsley won't want to do this, but the Shadow Witch at any point?
I don't know where we would find her. I don't know what we'd do about her, and I don't know necessarily why I need to care about her right now. Does anybody have any answers to any of those questions?
She's one of the people helping him.
Incorrect. Did you not hear, Kingsley? He cannot harness the shadow. she's actually opposing him, even though she doesn't necessarily hold our values.
Yeah, I misheard all of that. So, okay.
If she's the gatekeeper to Shadow, and he is trying to burst Shadow into the world, her efforts seem to be not aligned.
So, oh, wait a minute. All right, this is where I'm out of character. So so she hired the Nagpa to steal it, not. So the Nagpa's working for. No, wait a minute. Hang on. How did
Nope,
she?
you're all backwards.
All right, this was the chain of that Nagpa conversation, right? The Nagpa works for Torin.
Correct.
Yes. Okay.
I then asked, where is Kane's or not who? Where or who is Torin's person controlling the plans in Rukora? And he said the Shadow Witch.
And so that does imply that she's working with him then.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. I thought I was.
Yeah.
That could also imply that she's working with him while working against. I'm going to bow out of this, as this magic stuff makes my head spin worse than tea.
Either way, we don't really know for sure, and I feel like that is a massive goose chase that I can't be fucked with.
Let's go see what they did with at the ship.
I think we should meet with Ofix and hear them out and find out what they're doing, and maybe we can find some mutual ground in all of this. And, maybe it'll all be okay.
That seems unlikely, but sure.
We're all going to die horribly.
Yep.
But,
Already did that once today.
So any further questions for Kingsley right now?
Kingsley, when's your trip?
Well, I had been told that they could leave in under a week's time. I'm not exactly sure. They were seeking to bolster their crew when last I heard this morning.
1, 2, 3,
Okay.
4, 5, 6. Great.
7. Correct.
Well, okay.
I'll allow it.
I
Okay.
don't know. What do you think about all this, Kurt? Do you need to get with the Emperor after speaking with your expert?
I do traditionally follow the chain of commands in matters of incursion onto foreign soils, yes.
Let them know that you're about to take a trip that way to investigate or whatever you're going to do. Magic.
I likely think that the Emperor will see this as an alignment with our current attempted plan of sending you all as a reconnaissance force. The tactic that had been proposed was to somehow get you safely to the borders of Aradore and inside, and perhaps travel to the Stalwart Gate itself. And,
that would have been nice to know.
well, things have been a bit hectic, and you're not all the best at this whole War Council strategy stuff. So preferred something a little bit more concrete. But if the Stalwart Gate were to fall, they're not watching inside their own borders. So a small force might be able to make their way through, free the Stalwart Gate, allowing forces to come in from Grimtide.
What are the Stalwart Gates? Sorry?
The Stalwart Gate is the western-facing gate in Aradore.
Okay.
It's
It's-
what
I
we
think
went
that's-
through 2
In
years
specifically
ago.
Romont, or specifically just not Romont?
The Stalwart Gate itself is the fastest way in, closest to Romont. He leaves the room for a second and then comes back with a large map, and he kind of spreads it out on
Kira, back away, please.
the thing itself.
Wait, why can't I look at the map?
You can.
I just assumed
can
you'd
look at it,
abscond with
just-
it.
No taking. Looky only.
All right, I will.
Oh, there's more to this map than I. Is this the first time I've seen this map?
This is a new one, or an updated one since we used to be here. And
Well, our original map was
It's
a
pretty.
deed old one that I think Casey sent me a picture of.
wait. There's not enough shadow on this. Hold on.
Here, I will. Videos are all in the wrong spot, but I will show the folks at home.
Is this? I point to this part of the map. Is this the mine you were thinking that we would go
Oh,
under?
wait, no, that's wrong.
That was from Nagpa.
What?
Hopperville mines.
The
I
mine
mean,
thing.
I
was
think the
from
mines go
Nagpa.
all over. I'm sure we could find a entrance regardless of where we went.
All right, there we go. Now it's looking good.
Does look substantially more covered in shadow.
I'm an artiste. You can catch me on my.
You can see
something,
Walsley's
something
kind of like
live.
positioning himself between like the torches in the room, and the shadow just comes out over the map.
Okay. we
Little
can do
hand
that.
puppets. The candlelight.
Is this Nabnor's Lake?
Negative. Not North Lake
That's-
is here.
Okay.
How big is that lake though? That
What's
island
the
in the-
width of this lake? Although I
it's
do
never
see
gonna
that
get
you
old.
have in fact put an island in the middle of the lake.
That's why I was asking.
It's probably not the scale.
You want us to break down the stalwart gate so that way forces can get in through where?
So
Well,
they can
stop
take the
right
main roads to Romont.
If you look at the passage from the mainland itself, from the Dakoran Empire, the Garnet Bay here, where Grimtide is the bastion of our military and naval forces. To the east, and it's a simple, short sail across the way.
What are these islands here under the A specifically?
They are, for all intents and purposes, under Dakoran control.
What's
They
the complement there?
they're unmanned at the moment. They're mostly mountainous, not really strong footholds. We could slowly work our way that way. However, I believe also from something that Cainsley has been willing to share, the place to make landfall is actually in the east, just north of Horizon Island. We sail up from the south through the Sunken Grove Bay. We can make landfall there, climb up through a pass in the mountains there that's not guarded by any large keep, as it's a bit further, but sailing all the way around is treacherous, but a shortcut should be able to put us close enough to avoid most, if not all, of the hazards, although I am a bit worried that the bay itself of the Sunken Grove is an extension of the Feywild, so conditions there may be less than hospitable, although it is a risk that we'll be willing to take.
I think conditions everywhere are going to be less than hospitable.
Cainsley, where are you being dropped off? Where was the deal?
Well, I had chartered them to come in, as Groot here has said, on the eastern side. I don't believe that trying to get in through the Stalwart Gate is possible. The mountains that wreath the entirety of the northern and western borders are impassable by foot. I mean, I suppose you could travel over them, but it's a bit too far, and I want to see the land itself. I don't want to just fly straight into Romont, as that's not really as interesting to me. There is some interest, I believe, in our couriers, what did you call them? The rose thorns. in Horizon Island for them. I'm not entirely sure why, but they seemed keen on operating in that theater, so I merely played upon that. We should be able to make landfall, and even if there are forces guarding there, it's not a fortress, and I trust people of your talents should be able to get through.
Probably.
Fine, we better speak to the captain of this ship.
Looking at this map, can I make out where we landed in the astral projection?
Make a survival check.
Astral survival.
21?
All right. You're guessing that you entered probably somewhere in about the middle of the map itself, and then made your flight kind of went over Hallowfall, which you'll remember which is the location of the mass grave site for all of those that died in the plague, and was also the site of the final battle in which pretty much everyone you knew who was allied with you died in your earlier campaign in Aradore. Nomarius also very close to death there, and then closer to death now. Also, where the tombs of the various nobles' families are, the tomb where you were betrayed by Kindra and basically set to ambush. Soon. Yeah.
Oh, I had a realization. So, are you guys looking forward to fighting all of our old friends again?
Baha Zebulon? I mean, who?
Well, it's definitely going to happen.
So that was kind of like your flight path.
If there was some kind of crazed god that controlled the, strands of our life, they would probably make us fight our friends again. So.
Oh.
Did all that sound good to everyone? I say good, I mean, relatively good.
Nope. But, I am a sailor. Cool. I would like to be on that ship.
The threads are coming together. I just don't like what they're doing.
Maybe you should have been the one to astral project if you wanted to see the land. We saw it.
Astral projection is far too dangerous.
Well, we did it.
Yes, and it was far too dangerous.
I don't have a death wish. I merely wish to study death. There's quite a difference there.
Okay, so anything further in this current conversation?
Yeah, how old are you?
Are you counting in draconic years or measuring through the Dracoran Empire? Or
let me ask this question first. Where did you go to school?
I studied in many places, predominantly Romont. In my earlier days, I traveled around quite a bit. I spent early part of my career in Nosrael and traveled eastward through Ogral, although it's quite a dismal place, but if you're studying dismal subjects, it's there. Drow, not incredibly hospitable, although useful to extent if you need them, and toured around. I spent some time going through the Empire, but ultimately settled in Romont through the majority of my adult life. The Hornsby family was kind enough to take me in as a fairly young student, and I studied from them for a while, and then made my way to Romont.
He didn't teach the rose thorns, Akira.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Thanks.
Okay. So if we're finished here, next we need to find our mace-wielding Celestial.
Why?
Yeah, why?
Because he's a Celestial, and all of the other Celestials that were here were summarily killed. So it's probably wise to find out
Did you
all there is to know
plan
about him.
your foray into the astral plane to retrieve this person?
Sorry, repeat that. I missed
Did
the
you
first
plan your expedition
I
into
didn't
the
plan it,
ghost
but-
realm or whatever, and then you knew about him and you were going to bring him back?
Not at all. But now
Then
that
why
I
would
found
he be
him,
targeted by the enemy?
I have a feeling that
What?
he's gone.
Why would he be targeted if no one knew he was coming here?
but he is here now.
Why would he be targeted now that he's here? Does he hold something?
I don't know. We should find out.
He said
He's-
thank you to everyone, and then he gave me his sword. So I think he's gone.
Well,
didn't
he's
tell you the
obviously
thing
gone now.
Yeah.
Yeah, he might be on that ship. We should go to the ship.
We should go to the ship.
I heard he likes
But-
libraries.
But
Shh.
seeing as we're in, a school that is known for divination, it's probably not impossible to find the location and whereabouts of the person that was just here. So,
We can likely scry and find his location if it is to be found. That seems something even within the realm of your clerics here. I
Yeah,
can
but maybe
imagine.
I don't want
Not
to.
not right
Okay.
now, unfortunately.
I will look into it, Kendra. And
Thank
I
you.
agree, having unknown folks from other planes wandering around with weapons is probably not the best idea.
Right, so we'll leave
Yeah.
him to the school. Excellent. Let's go.
Akira.
What?
One final thing before we set off. Enough of this. I don't want to.
Well, I
We're all
don't
working
want
towards a
to.
goal. We're all working towards a goal. He gave you a sword. You should be kind to him.
No one said anything about being kind to him or not being kind to him. I just don't think that he's particularly needed or wants to be here.
Right. But we want to take care of him because he gave you a sword.
We do not want to take care of him.
We, as in the
You want
general
to take care of
world
him.
of goodness.
I think he will be just fine.
Besides, what is
Calm
that
down.
sword anyway? Why are you
It's
so
mine.
fond of it? I'm not
It's
saying it's
mine.
not yours, but you're very fond of it.
I've never seen you use a sword. I've never seen
I've
you
never
use
used a
anything.
sword.
I've never seen you show any kind of fierce emotion towards something that isn't something you hate, or
Yes,
something
but
with
I
words
like
on it.
gifts, and it was a gift. I keep all my gifts. I've never given away a gift. Do you remember my ring from my friend?
I don't. You don't ever talk about it. Not like that sword.
You were there when she got it.
I don't remember.
Yeah, you weren't there when I got.
Why don't you identify the sword?
Because I know what it is.
Well, why don't
It's
you
a
let us
sword.
identify the sword?
Can you have any way of doing that?
Yes, you could. One of the clerics could put identify on my
Yeah, I am a
ring of
cleric.
soaring.
And I
She
know
has
what it is.
She has identify. I don't.
Okay, well, what is it?
It is a sword.
Just a basic sword
Yeah,
that does nothing else.
This is our topic.
you need to know.
This is our topic, huh?
Well, she's
Okay, when this has gotten weird. All right, when are we planning on leaving?
okay. Let's go to
I
the
think
ship
we need
thing
to go-
and
yeah.
we'll rob.
No,
her
can
in
I?
the
Can we just like spend one or? I kind of want to say goodbye to my order because this is the last time I'm ever going to see them.
We're not going yet.
We need to negotiate. The day
Yes.
of departure's still a few days
I-
away.
Okay, then I need to be in a huff about nothing. All right, cool. We're gonna do
I-
it.
But,
But I'm
first
just
things
letting you know,
first,
I need to do that before we go.
we should get a good night's sleep. My reasoning for this is Akira will start a fight with them, so we should be ready to, continue that fight.
I mean, why do you think I'm gonna start a fight? Have
I
started
don't know
a
why I
fight?
could possibly think that. She also has a level. He also has a level of exhaustion.
I don't particularly like this fellow right here that wants to go over there and start chaos with his old buddy, but I didn't start a fight then, did I? No, I did not.
You're right. You didn't start a fight. Let's go
Okay
to bed.
then.
We go to
What
bed.
time of day is it? Isn't it like
It's
bedtime.
afternoon.
afternoon?
It's bedtime.
It's afternoon. You can certainly move towards the evening and retire.
Anybody disagree?
Do you want to see your order now before we go? And
No. I mean, if I've got time after, like, if we've got a day after we meet with the ship tomorrow, then I'm okay.
okay.
We have bedtime.
All right. Easy enough. Heading off to bed. Karut goes back to work. Cainsley goes back to studying. And you all retire off. A long rest is achieved.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, if you wanted to do something else, you can.
No. If you were just skipping over to, so well, hey Walsley, question for you.
Yes, how can I be assistance?
Do you like wake up easy?
I'm not sure where this is headed. I'm not going back to the teapot if that's what you're asking.
No. I'm just saying, like, if something was coming for me in the night, would you wake up quickly?
Do I sleep on guard when things are afoot like this? Yes.
Would you mind if we shared a room platonically? Because I'm kind of scared.
Well, that's fine.
Is that okay? I'll take the floor. I don't
As long
care.
as you're okay with it, and I'll take the floor, my God.
No, I mean, it's fine. I just
Look, I don't have a room here, and you do. Enjoy the bed that you've paid for, and I'll take the floor.
okay. I just am worried about people coming after what I have. So that's
Well,
all.
don't display it, and let's stop speaking of it, lest the prying ears of whomever may hear.
Okay. So when Roswell sleeps, she sleeps with her whole body curled around the bag of holding. like fetus position, like death grip on it. That's what I wanted to do.
Any spells being changed on either cleric?
Probably.
Yeah,
And
I need to look at that.
I would like to attune to my sword.
Your normal sword.
Yes.
Your very normal, non-magical sword.
Yes.
You easily achieve attunement.
And then Tebrin is gonna do his 4-hour trance, and then is probably gonna spend the next 4 hours just wandering around the inn, where he keeps trying to settle places, and will manage to stay sitting down and relax for maybe 5 minutes, and then he's up again and kind of ranges all over the place over the course of the night.
And Roswell will see that Walsley generally puts out one small dark waxed candle out and sits Indian style for quite a while in deep reflection, as is the way of his order that he doesn't really advertise all that much. But afterwards would then take a much more common look to his silhouette as he's just laying back on the floor with a bunched up piece of cloth as a pillow. And he seems comfortable in that situation. So it's
You guys have thousands and thousands of gold, and you're making your party members sleep on the floor with cloth as a pillow.
9 gold to my character's name.
He hasn't earned it yet.
You guys could
and
you
8
could
silver.
buy a castle in this city.
Well, I honestly.
I'm brand new.
Yeah,
Why
that's
would
why
they spend?
I
I'm
was
brand.
confused. I could pay for a room with 2 beds.
You're past the conversation.
We're well past that. Yeah, we're done.
Okay, that's fine.
We wake up, we're alive.
I've already long rested, so yes.
Yes.
Oh, excellent.
So you all wake up.
Oh,
There's
speaking
no
of D&D Beyond. They-
there's nothing crazy that happens in the night. No dreams, no possessions, no anything else awful I've done to you during nighttime. Tebrin, you do wake up as not before a long rest has occurred, but sort of in the morning, and you hear sort of like banging, like somebody going through clumsily through. You kind of get up and like peek out the door, and you see a very drunk Siora like just stumbling down the hall, and then she goes into a different room and then kind of like slams the door.
Siora?
No response. And you hadn't seen her all yesterday either.
He goes and like stands right outside the door for like a good 30 seconds, like about to knock, and then just kind of calls it, "You good?"
No response.
Okay. I'm gonna go downstairs. I presume that this is like the kind of setup where there is some sort of like front desk.
More or less. There's a bar, but yeah. There is like the innkeep there down, sort of sweeping, taking chairs off of tables and generally getting ready in the morning.
Kind of catch their attention.
Yeah?
The woman who came in with us back when we first checked in, bit taller, dresses very well.
Ah, yeah. She's a real looker.
She is, yes. Did you see her last night?
No, she just walked in 20 minutes or so. There's I think she was here with some other guy, I don't know, got another room.
Right. All right. I'm gonna Alright, yeah. He's just gonna kind of sit down and order some breakfast.
Easy enough. He kind of puts down his rag and goes to fixing some breakfast. Bacon, breads, some dried meat, some cheese. Pours you a glass of watered down ale.
Yeah, and then as he goes away, I'll pull a gold out of my pouch and hand it to him and just say, just make sure that she gets anything that she needs.
She looks like she has expensive tastes.
I pull out 5 more gold.
He takes it. The rest of you up and at him eventually come down. Tebrin's there. Started on breakfast. Breakfast is served. Included in the cost of your rooms.
I pay for Walsley's breakfast.
You should have negotiated a stipend, Walsley.
No, actually, as soon as Tebrin like sees Roswell doing that, he goes like, "Oh fuck!" And let's see.
We're gonna make it rain on you.
Tebrin's gonna count 150 gold out of party loot and hand that to Walsley.
Your movement speed is halved. You're muted. The gold removes your ability to speak.
As I stand there wide open trying to speak, playing, ooh, what's all this for then? It's been 2 days and I'm getting paid like a king.
Well, you'll probably
you're-
die, so.
Akira. I mean, if you're going with us to Aradore, would you do? We tend, as you've seen, to get into relatively dangerous situations. So consider this compensation
For
That's
for
the
this
a little
and
ominous.
what is likely to come. If you choose to go with us, and if not, then we appreciate the help.
Look,
that
I'm
you've
getting
given
on
us
that
thus
ship,
far.
okay?
Okay.
We should
well,
probably buy armor for you, too. And wait,
No.
don't you need some too, Tebrin?
Oh, Tebrin.
I-
Have you been on the open seas, Akira?
Nope.
Nope, you're not going to like how armor fits.
I'm talking about for you, and
I'm a sailor. This is what I wear.
I wouldn't
Uh,
mind trying to get something a little bit.
see, I
See?
thought I heard Tebrin say that he needed armor.
Oh.
You know, this is the armor, and he like tugs a little bit on this. He's wearing like very, it's very characteristically drow, and it's the sort of thing where you look at it and immediately like it jumps out because it's very like dark and geometric, and it doesn't look elvish in the way you think of things looking elvish. And he kind of like tugs it a little bit and says, I was given this in basic training."
Mm-hmm.
Well, we could handle buying tomorrow, or before we leave, when we know what we're doing.
Yes, we don't
should
need
go
to.
and speak to this Ofix person.
Yes, let's
And-
negotiate passage on the ship.
Yes.
We
So you
also
should
need to
lead
buy
the
more
way, right?
diamonds. Okay, just adding that to the list.
Is that really
Okay.
necessary, Roswell? Seems
She's
a little
got
frivolous.
expensive taste.
Listen, the diamonds can bring you back to life. So yeah,
Diamonds
it's
it is.
important. Okay.
Times it is. So you should lead the way, since you were talking to the mystery elf. Lead on, Speedy.
Who's Mistral?
Mystery elf.
She's not a mystery. She has a name.
Okay.
Oh, do you mean the
Non-mystery
person
elf.
I ran down? Oof. Yes, all right, well, let's see if she's there. First of all, let's find this ship. It's along the river, just outside the main docking area for the city. So, to the river, it better not be run ashore.
Yep. Easy enough based on sort of and you know kind of your way in and out and where ships would be in the docks. And a ship capable of making certain journeys can only fit in certain parts of these networks of little river deltas and all of that kind of stuff. So you make your way there and you see alongside one of the streets there is a ship pulled up alongside. It's probably about 70 feet long or so, or 120 feet long, as I measure. It's weird that it's an exact increment of that. Looks like it to your eyes, Wallesley, probably cruise about 10 to 15, and that would be like a very healthy complement. You could probably sail it with 6 able-bodied people. Enough cargo room for
I look back at everybody.
provisions and yeah.
And it'll have to be.
Yeah. Yeah. So, could be fairly well provisioned.
They got somebody sitting outside as they're moving on top. What's the
There
distance we're currently at?
are 3 or 4 folks on top moving around that look dressed fairly similar to yourself. They do look like hired sort of hands. You kind of get the impression that these people were looking for work and got offered a job as the hands. And you do see the woman that you talked to sort of come out of kind of the captain's office, the captain's study in the stern of the ship, and walk across the deck and sort of talk to one of them and direct something. And some of them are kind of coming on and off the ramp, and there's some boxes and crates that just get dropped off by a wagon, and they go and look over things. So it looks like general sort of business of preparing a ship to go out.
Wallesley wheels around and stops the party. Now listen. These are my kind of people. They're sailors. Some of them may have lost brothers in the conflict we were involved with. They may be bitter. Don't provoke them. We are here to try to gain passage and possibly a very temporary alliance with these people. So again, if you have an opinion about something, don't share it. They won't care, and it will not help.
By all means, lead the way. I trust your judgment.
Well, that's a mistake as well. Or else I'd have my own ship. Or I look at this ship like,
We could always take it later.
Hey,
Wolsey won't turn around to that, but there might be a smile on his face. So,
What do you mean, hey? You were like, these guys are evil. They should be shot out of
but
a cannon, not
you
24
don't
hours
take
ago.
their
as
property, though.
All right,
I'll
don't worry
head
about
to where the
Continue.
gangplank might be, or etc. If there's
Yep.
somebody off on the dock, I'll stop and talk to that person.
There is somebody kind of unloading stuff, and there's a crane that appears like it's set up to sort of ferry stuff on and off the dock that just kind of pivots, a simple kind of
All right.
block and tackle type thing. And he kind of like looks up at you. You looking for work?
Adali, Ofix, they're expecting us. Don't you let them know we're here. We won't board without their permission.
All right. Kind of puts the box down, sort of like looks at the guy like driving the wagon. Just be a minute. Turns back and gets to the top of the gangway and kind of goes over to Adali, and she kind of comes over to the side, sort of seeing what's going on, and she just kind of like waves at you. So you decided to take us up on a meeting after all. Why don't you come aboard? Is this your crew?
Could be. I'd like very much to have this conversation, so let's do that. I'm going to move toward the gangplank, but as I do, I want to inspect the ship. I want to make sure that there's no, like, oh, this thing's going to be sunk, or, oh, look, there's explosives. Whatever. I want to inspect the ship as we're going, given
All right.
any kind of chance.
Give a investigation roll, because you can see the whole side of the hull that's facing you now.
Investigation. This is why I used to have a crew. Yeah, we'll just do that. I don't know why it was with advantage, but the first roll, I managed to roll an 11, so my result is a 10.
All right. Looking over it, I mean, you're familiar with ships and such. The hull looks in pretty good shape. It does look like they've had repairs, and looking at the
I would like to remake that roll utilizing my water vehicle proficiency, because that is something I am good at.
For sure.
Thank you. I will, for some reason, keep the advantage, even though I don't belong.
Nice.
It doesn't belong. This is
Holy
much
moly.
more up my alley, as I realize,
Yes.
wait, I'm a sailor. And I look at it with the 29 instead of a 10. So while I might not be very smart at looking at things, I know boats.
Yeah, and I would say that for this particular instance, you would also have advantage.
I'll take it and still result at a 29.
29.
That's an amazing roll.
So, looking over it, you do notice that it does look like the ship at some point sustained a reasonable amount of damage, like it might have perhaps been forcibly taken at some point. It has been repaired pretty well, yeah. The work is, I mean, it's not hard to tell if you know what you're looking at. The rest of them looking at the hull, the hull probably wouldn't notice it, but it is patched over nicely, but then kind of finished with a nice pine tar over it. The thing that immediately strikes you is that the front of the bow, sort of where the keel comes up to meet the front point there, it looks to you like that has been heavily reinforced. Like this ship could probably drive or sail
Through ice?
into something and get away with it instead of just cracking and going
There's
down.
It can ram.
Potentially, it is reinforced. To you, sailing in ice would be a really stupid bad idea in a wooden ship, but it is reinforced. You still wouldn't be like, yeah, let's make this an icebreaker.
No, but so this is more of a ramming situation in the open sea.
Yeah, you get the sense that it's been bolstered for some purpose, but it has definitely been bolstered.
Not a standard reinforcement.
Correct. Yeah, there's no reason to do this unless you're expecting to drive this ship into something.
Okay.
Also, looking through the rigging and the sails and all of that, it looks like all of the sails likely have been replaced in fairly a fairly short time ago. It looks like fairly new, nice canvas has been put in. Very nice. There's kind of a reddish golden sort of embroidery is not the right word because it's on a very large scale, but just geometric design work on it, and it looks very well done with the highest quality canvas. And to that, you can just sort of see as you get up onto the top of the gangway, one of the hatches is open to the hold, and things are going down in via the crane. Everything looks ship shape up top, but it does look like there's been a lot of work put into it to shore it up. There are no armaments that you can see on it at the moment.
In all of my sailingness, how do I recognize any of the folk here besides the two at all?
Let's let fate decide.
Well, screw us all then.
One of them looks familiar. Maybe somebody that you have met in passing, or you sort of like recognize from coming and going in ports and such. But not like somebody you'd be like, oh, that's Joe. We sailed
So we never
together a
crewed
bunch.
together.
We never
That's fine.
you never crewed together, but you've likely have been drunk in the same bar at some point, or
Then that's just a passing acquaintance. No big deal.
Yep.
We'll once we're aboard, we'll follow her lead, whether she leads us to the captain's area or wants to speak aloud right on the deck.
Yep. She does kind of beckon you back into the captain's quarters, and as she's kind of walking in, you see a man walk out who is dressed decidedly not like the others. Kind of a warm golden brown skin. His head is just completely smoothly shaved bald, with the exception of one sort of braided black mohawk that kind of like weaves its way back. It almost looks sort of like a snake, ending in a short braid on the back. Kind of has fairly trimmed down sideburns, but they come to like an angled point that kind of melds in with his jawline, giving it a little bit of a striking look to it. That's a little stylized, and you can see on each hip he has kind of these bronzes gold scimitars. He sort of looks you over, very big, bulky, though doesn't seem like he's not like the huge like muscle bound type guy. Just seems like somebody whose bulk comes more from just kind of genetics and size than it does from being a gladiator or whatever. Wearing leather armor, which is nicely sort of inlaid and trimmed with this gold and red fabric, and has sort of a traditional stylized, almost like pirate's jacket with kind of a big lapels, as that, which strikes you as a little bit gaudy, as it's like nobody who actually goes to sea it like wears that kind of thing. So it's more of like a fashion statement than it is an actual like practical piece. He just sort of looks over all of you. He stands almost 7 feet tall, so he's a very foreboding figure, and sort of steps aside to the door, and you open or you go in past. The door is kind of latched open now, and you do see sitting there, there's a desk sort of centered, and there's windows that kind of are glazed over, but the light kind of pours in from the back, and you see seated at the sort of captain's desk there is a woman, fairly slight in build. She has very sort of like long, straight, pure platinum blonde hair. It's pulled back, sort of braided into a tight ponytail. Very kind of ornate, dangling earrings. Wearing black leather gloves, and again dressed in the same sort of black and red and gold motif that is similar colors to the Dracoran Empire and the school, but very much almost like they took that and just spun it in this kind of like almost like steampunky pirate aesthetic that's very much clashes with all of the like styles of you've seen in the Dracoran Empire. And she kind of leans forward and puts her elbows on the table and just sort of looks over at you. Well, not entirely what I was expecting. Do come in.
This is someone Tabern recognizes, though, correct? Tabern and whoever was with him.
Yes, this is the woman that gave you the first staff. I hear you have business for me.
Depends on what your name is. I've been given one. See if it matches up.
My name is Ophix.
Very good. I'm Mr. Walsley. These are my crew.
Companions.
And
Yes, where's crew?
it by no means is Mr. Kingsley here, correct?
No.
Right. We have made a deal with a Mr. Kingsley.
Oh, interesting. Seems to have his fingers in a little bit of everything, then.
Yes, overbearingly terrible personality, that one, but certainly not idle.
He has chartered us for passage, and it coincides with other business we have. So, why not make one trip even more lucrative by doubling down? And what is it of to you?
Well, as you're probably well aware, we've had conflicting interest really recently. Losses on both sides.
None that will be missed.
Well, that's a very cutthroat attitude, but okay.
You're either effective or you're not. In my line of work, if you're not effective, you don't hang around for too much.
Point is, we wish to brush that aside temporarily, gain passage on this fine vessel, and seek to continue our alliance with Mr. Kingsley in spite of your other employer's intention, which gives you a bit of conflicted interest. And I would like to know how we resolve that, because certainly the other employer of yours would be at odds with this.
I cannot speak to my other clientele and their intentions. Rest assured, I seek to carry out all the work to which I have accepted as expediently and profitably as possible. If you get in the way of that, we'll have problems. If you don't, then no problems will be had.
Well, I'm interested and have a few questions then, if you don't mind. As a sailor myself, I've seen some patchwork done on what was a very damaged ship at one point. Well done, well done. But what's the front for?
Where we're going tends to be a bit rougher on ships. We plan to sail a week or so to the west. And
That's a very big area.
so that seems odd to you, as
I know.
what you know of the West is the only island that has been discovered out to the west is the Isles of Osanara, which take maybe about 3 or 4 days to sail to. But the ocean out beyond that is it's very much a there be dragons type of thing, but in a literal sense. The ocean itself is incredibly prone to bad weather, and there are all sorts of things that lurk out there. So it's not explored because it would be suicide if you were to try to take a ship out there.
I've taken shelter in some of that maelstrom, or at least the very edges of it near the Isles. I've been in these waters most of my life. Why in the world would you sail deep into that maelstrom?
If you want to get to one side, you need to sail off the other first. Let's just say the ocean doesn't always work the way that we think, and you can sail
It
yourself.
never works that way.
If you can sail yourself into the right hole, you might come out somewhere you don't expect. I've made it a point to learn some of the nuances, and I think we can arrive quite expediently, although we'll have to sail hard and fast and hope that nothing finds us before we find where we're going.
Well, that shouldn't be an issue if you have a good crew. I can tell you we can earn our passage. I am a sailor of many, many years. I'll know this ship better than anyone else you hire.
You do seem quite at home on a ship. Is this similar to any that you've sailed in before? It's a bit
It is.
modified, but works the same.
How long have you had her?
It came into my possession a little over a year ago when its previous owners, let's just say they wronged too many people in my line of work, and many were very happy for me to dispose of them. Although I don't like making enemies, so rather than simply killing all of them, I merely relocated them. But as part of the token of my payment, they left me the ship, and now it proves to be useful.
Well, that's a shame to hear. Good that you have your ship now, I suppose. But there's like a code on the sea, and it's like that they've dishonored that code. It doesn't sit well with me. I hope this crew is a little more loyal. I don't know what you brought aboard.
I wouldn't question their loyalty. There aren't any members of my crew who wouldn't give their lives for me in any circumstance.
Who's the pretend sailor at the beginning with the bald head?
Oh, he's not a sailor in the least. I expect
Really?
him to be quite sick, to be honest. But he is perhaps my most cherished member of the team. Natosh, dear, do come in. I hate to see you sitting there sulking outside. You can, of course, be a part of this conversation. He comes in and sort of stands next to her. Natosh is a sustaining force in my life, and is and she like reaches out and just kind of like puts her hand on his chest and just sort of like slowly drifts it down, is a integral part of the way we do things here.
Can I do an insight check to see like what that relationship, like how does he react to her?
Make an insight
Like,
check.
I just want to get, I feel like she's pulling energy off of him like a battery. That's my instinct. I rolled a 20.
They have, the dynamic between them is that she is clearly sort of the head honcho dominant figure. There is affection there, but you get the sense that their relationship is mired in complexity, and it is likely that when she says they kind of use or she uses him, that is two varying levels. And looking at him, he strikes you as somebody who has a very healthy constitution.
So my instinct is relatively
Everything
target.
you've seen has sort of supported that, in that he would be a virile fountain of energy from which to draw.
Cool.
Gross.
Then I suppose my last question, madam, or are you the captain here?
You can call me whatever you wish, as long as you don't cross me.
Then my question is, can you fit the companions you see here? Is Karut coming with us out of character? And
To the best of my knowledge.
Karut is not with you now, but
yes. So, the companions you see here honor your deal with Kingsley, and one more that has not joined us for this conversation.
I might have to make some personnel adjustments, but for extra compensation, perhaps in the way of labor, I'm sure it won't be a problem. I do have a few rules aboard my ship, though.
You should have some rules aboard your ship, otherwise it would be chaos. Be glad to hear them if we come to an accord.
Indeed.
What's it going to cost us?
What do you have to offer me? And please don't say gold. That's trifling boring.
Gold. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. I'm an experienced sailor, as you well have already surmised, as I've mentioned it, and you agreed. So that right there should be worth a lot. But
You're
your friends
valuable. The rest of these seem...
They're hard workers. They just need supervision when it comes to seaworthy stuff.
We're happy to learn, and I think all of us are pretty decent in a fight, so if there is danger out on the waves, then I think you'd appreciate probably a few more able swords at your command.
I'm a pretty good tailor and sewer.
Well, mending things does happen, so.
I know.
Indeed. Can any of you swim?
Like a porpoise.
Reasonably well.
I can turn myself and people into things that can swim. That's sort of the same.
Now that is interesting. Alright. You don't seem like an incredible liability, and I guess if you die during your passage, that's not really any skin off my back. The rest of you seem very quiet.
Well, as you may have noticed by looking at us, the rest of us are not accustomed to the sea, so we let the person amongst us who had the relevant experience lead the way. But if you have questions for us specifically, and he gives her a bit of a kind of bow and says, Tebron Hillis, I'm at your service to answer any questions that you have.
What's your business in Aradore, Mr. Hillis?
I have a score to settle there.
Good luck with that. And the rest of you, the same intent?
Yep.
Good old-fashioned revenge.
It's a profitable market. I hope you're getting paid well.
Is the motif for every kung fu movie I've ever witnessed and watched. Let's go for the big boss.
All right. I would like you to make a persuasion roll, Wallesley.
I would like to reconsider.
Can I assist in this?
God. I'm not
I will allow
trained.
you to assist.
I'm pretty sure I'm not trained. Persuasion.
Can
Now,
I
as a
somehow
sea dog-
transform some of this into a bardic inspiration on top of that?
You
Ugh.
may use bardic inspiration.
Okay.
As a sea dog, I have a 6 charisma. 6.
I'm so mad I forgot to cast enhance ability before. I totally prepped it.
It's a 6. So mine
Well,
minus
you have
2.
a D8.
Mine minus 2. And what'd you give me?
A D8 and advantage.
You're all right. So I'll take that D8. I'm gonna roll the D8 first.
Because it's going to be higher.
So
that's
adding
good.
Okay.
6 to the roll,
I would
which
like
is
to bet-
huge.
I would like to bend luck.
I think you have to see the roll first.
I'll allow it. I'll allow it.
Okay.
You
Go
can
ahead.
bend luck on that D8.
Yeah. Yep, I want to bend luck on your D8. Roll 1d4.
We're never actually going to use the D20.
I hope not.
Oh, that's good too.
Okay.
Okay.
There you go.
So now,
9.
We're up to 9 and we
inspiration.
haven't even rolled it yet.
now from my perspective, all I'm doing is being really inspired by Tebrin because you're messing with Tebrin's mechanic, not me. So Tebrin looks over, gives me the nod, and I, for some reason, I'm like, yeah, it reminds me of a sea shanty. Oh, and then here's the perception.
Persuasion.
said.
Yeah.
Advantage.
Apple under the sea.
My
Oh.
2 rolls, one was a 19, modified to 17, plus 9 is a 26.
That's persuasive.
Hell yeah.
All right. So
Only able to get there through the means of the shenanigans of my party.
17 wasn't a bad roll.
I mean,
No,
17
it's
is a pretty
not,
good roll.
but-
too.
But you got to remember, from a DC perspective, 17's at the average point
Yeah.
for like a DC, and not hard. So if it was a hard or better, not that I'll ever know, because I got a 26.
All right. Well, your passage will be paid for through work. The rest of you, better earn your keep, or you're getting charged at the end. Am I clear? Also,
Absolutely.
some ground rules. Everyone helps. Everyone gets an equal share of whatever spoils come our way during our journey. And you are under no circumstances to touch or go anywhere near the cargo that I am loading on. If I find any of you snooping about, you will be off the ship. And for those of you who don't sail, that's not an enjoyable place to be. Are we all understood? Well,
Crystal clear.
as is custom, bind the deal in blood.
Do you do? Is this a sailing thing?
This is a blood magic thing.
No.
She reaches back and sort of pulls out a little sort of pin out and just pricks her finger, and then sort of makes this kind of sigil out over a piece of parchment.
Y'all know what that sigil is?
Make an Arcana check.
It's called I'm going to betray these guys.
20?
Looking at it, it's you don't recognize the exact sigil, as you get the sense that it is somewhat personalized and stylized, but appears to be some sort of sigil of binding, typically
Yes.
used in agreements and that sort of thing. It's basically the equivalent of an arcane handshake, which may or may not bear sort of a little bit more weight than just your word. You also do know, with a 20 in Arcana, that blood has other purposes in sort of potential of magic things you can do. So having one's blood is of value to some.
I'm gonna look at Tebrinus. He's been clearly the leader in all of the roles that that Walsley has noticed. There's been a lot of discussion, but I think Tebrin usually takes the lead in things. And while I have discussed it, this is not my place. Because I just got 100 gold. I feel like a toady.
I gave some blood to the land. Now we're gonna give some blood to the weird witch lady. Guess that's just where we are at. Tebrin leans down, pulls one of his drow-made daggers.
No.
There's no need to waste any blood. Simply I'll extend your hand if you are in agreement. We can do this in a much more civilized way.
I pull out one of my own needles. May I use this? Just a simple sewing needle.
By all means. I just
don't
don't
wanna
want you all
sanitize that.
plunging daggers into your hands like a bunch of heathens. You know, you use your hands quite a bit when you're sailing. And for just about everything else. I don't know why people do that. So, yes or no?
It's an easy fix.
Please
Yes.
don't waste my time, or I can leave you on the dock. Easy enough.
And when are we leaving?
When would you like to leave? We'll be loaded, likely by sunset, if pace holds.
Tomorrow morning would be whatever
I mean,
you say
Well,
there, Tebrin.
oh no, wait a minute. If
We'll be
we've got-
loaded by sunset. I can delay my voyage up to several days if need be, and still maintain schedules.
It's only the morning. We can probably do everything we want to do by tonight, right?
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah. I
While
think
you're
so.
deciding on that, Akira is going to take her holy symbol and on top of her hand, spin it.
Okay.
Oh,
And
no.
then she puts her hand out to be pricked for blood.
I'm confused. Is there one person pricking or all the members of the party?
I think we all have to.
Stop offering
have to?
blood.
The implication seemed to be that we all had to.
Really? Because we're not getting the blood from everybody on the crew.
Well,
Crew
they've
is
probably
already-
given their blood.
Already
Right, this is
sworn
all out of
into
character.
me.
I mean, what I'm saying is, you're all like, yeah, here's my hand. That's just exactly why I just turned to Tebrin. Go ahead.
And Tebrin, like, seeing you, okay, it just kind of, like, gives you a look like, we gotta do what we gotta do.
Right. You have to do what we have to do. Great. Now, if she at that point wants all of our blood, I can't stop that. But
Because, I mean,
my
Tebrin
first,
would
my
have
first
stepped
move would be,
forward
yeah.
and offered his hand.
Right.
Well, I suppose I can. Well, we will rest the loyalty of your party on your shoulders. And she just sort of swirls her finger a little bit, and the needle just sort of lifts up into the air and just goes right through your hand for a second, and dripping out the other side. Drop
Tebrin
of blood
doesn't,
down.
like, blink, just, like, kind of
On-
clenches his hand to a fist. And
Yeah, and you can see as the needle sticks into the piece of paper as it goes through, it actually beats the blood dropping down, and the blood drops onto the top of the needle and then just slowly soaks down and makes a little point there. Wonderful. So, tomorrow morning we sail.
Tomorrow morning.
Given favorable winds. Fabulous. Are there any special dietary concerns I need to be worried about?
I can actually take care of some food and water if we ever get really stranded.
Good. Let's hope we never get really stranded. I've had cleric food. It's not to my liking.
Yeah,
Sure,
but
we
it
can
kept
eat
you
whatever
alive, didn't
kraken
it?
we end up having to fight.
We will see you tomorrow morning. Dawn, shall it be?
There's a favorable easterly breeze that should help us get out of the harbor just fine. Yes. We'll cast off at dawn, with or without you.
Yeah, has anyone ever showed up to try to reclaim goods that you've come into possession of?
Are you talking of any specific item? I trade in quite a bit of what most people would call contraband.
Well,
Occasionally,
trade's a strong word. Sometimes you may have been misled as to the ownership of things that you were traded.
if something is traded to me, it becomes mine, regardless of any stake there. If somebody wants something I own back, they are welcome to trade with me. Or they're welcome to try to take it from me.
All right.
I don't hold grudges. Grudges are bad for business. Nor do I honor old claims. If you did that, you'd be so tied up in who belongs to what and everything, you'd never be able to turn a profit.
All right. See you at dawn.
Wonderful. Enjoy your last night on land.
I assume we have rum, yes?
And the big guy sort of just looks down and kind of smiles. There'll be rum.
Dawn it is.
Gives them both a bit of a bow and heads off the ship.
All right.
Yep.
The crew continuing off.
Walsley grumbles as he's off the ship. He's like, they can't. Call me what you want. There's no captain. This is just wrong. They don't know what they're doing. Look at those sailors. They've hired seamen, sure, but those guys don't know. They haven't worked together. There's no camaraderie. I haven't even heard a shanty. This is ridiculous. Like I'm all, but it's all grumbly loud, like a really loud, quiet voice. Like grumbly. Like he's not screaming it, but everyone hears. It's like.
Is this a good place to stop? Because I
It
am
is indeed.
extremely crashing right now.
It is at the wonderful time allotment of stopping, since deciding what to do next would take an entire session.
It would.
Can we offline our shopping requirements, maybe
Yeah.
with lists
Yes,
and
please.
stuff?
I was just about to think that.
Yep.
I feel no particularly strong desire. There are other things that I would like to do before we leave that do need to get role played, but shopping is not among those things.
I agree.
So I would say make a list of all the shopping stuff, but then also tell me any of the other things you want to do prior, and I will then be able to plan accordingly. At dawn we sail.
At dawn we sail.
All right. Thank you all for watching. We very much appreciate hanging out with you. Hope you had some fun listening to our endless discussions about questions we were going to ask. If you ever need help coming out with questions, I recommend avoiding all of these people.
Yeah.
Thank you. Roll20. Check out the website, rollitslant.com. Follow us on Twitter at rollitslant. And if you're in the Kickstarter exploratory mode, go out and check out the new Kickstarter from 2C Gaming. It's called the TPK Bestiary 2, or Bestiary, if you want to pronounce it correctly. I'll be writing on that. Some cool new creatures, all designed to tactically challenge your players. It's going to be very cool. The video for it is super hype. Excited to work on it and excited to share it with you all. And anyone else got anything? All right.
Nope.
So, signing off. Dora, what's our sign-off line today?
Don't give your blood to strangers.
So remember,
Donate.
don't give your blood to strangers, everybody, and we'll see you next time. That is so creepy. So super creepy.